Here we are, folks. Here we are. LFG. Let's go. How you doing? Absolutely. Xander is a genius. Folks, you are now 11 days away from greatness. You're 11 days away from greatness. I mean, what a time. What an absolute time right now. By the way, next 4 hours of the program is powered by our friends at BetUS. Hit that like button. Also, all supers go to the top. You guys, the last 2 days have been absolutely sensational. You are growing one of the fastest shows on the planet every single day. By the way, I saw my boy Devontae Smith out there hanging out with my guy LeBron James. I'll give you guys a little bit of insight. That was pretty cool at the Sixer game last night. One of my teammates coached LeBron James. I got a chance to meet LBJ about 23 years ago when he was in high school at St. Vincent's. Jay Brophy was his head coach at St. Vincent's, and he's a former teammate of mine at the Miami Hurricanes. And he coached LeBron James. He coached LBJ. Absolutely, man. Had a chance to meet him along with Worldwide Wes. Yeah, Jay Brophy was his coach from 2001 to 03 there in Akron. Kid would, do you know he's a two-time All-Stater? I saw him, and I heard Xander say how big he is. Can you imagine that dude playing tight end or flanker in the National Football League? That's what that guy played when he was in high school. Okay? Oh, by the way, today, for your viewing pleasure, former head football coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Dick Vermeil, will join us at 3:30. The legendary golden voice of the Eagles, Merrill Reese, will be with us at 4:30. And my boy Xander will try to jump on with us at around 5 o'clock. Hit that like button. Look forward to talking with Coach Vermeil. So Coach Vermeil will join us at 3:30. Hit that like button. You guys are great. Yeah, I thought I'd throw that out there. Those guys last night, you see how in awe they were of LeBron James. By the way, I agree with John McMullen. You're talking about one of the most famous people on the planet. I mean, LeBron James is one of the most famous people on the planet. Make no mistake about it. Okay? Make no mistake about it. He's one of the most famous guys on the planet. Is he better than MJ? That's always a kind of crazy debate. It's like talking about Mahomes and Brady. If you want to be candid on that, which quarterback would you rather have? How about this? Maybe that's also the take. Would you rather have LeBron James to build your basketball team, or would you rather have Michael Jordan? You know what? I think it's one of those conversations where you do this. Okay, I'll take the one you don't want. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll take the one you don't want. Hit the like button, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. All right. So we're going to get Coach Vermeil on at 3:30 and Merrill on at 4:30. So it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have another offensive coordinator. This will mark the 5th one since 2021. The 5th coordinator. There is no doubt Mickey Loomis and all my friends who are down with the Saints have Kellen Moore number 1 on their list. And you know why Mike McCarthy pulled out, don't you? Because his former assistant is going to get the job. It's a telling sign that Mike pulled out for a reason. You know what that was? They were probably informed they're going with Kellen Moore. And they got to wait until after the Super Bowl to announce the hiring of Kellen Moore as the new head football coach of the New Orleans Saints. This means now that the Philadelphia Eagles will have another coordinator for Jalen Hurts. I've written down new candidates and potential replacements for this. So, again, here we are. The slow development of your quarterback. Some would say this, Sills, do you think Kellen did a good job with Jalen? Yeah, because he told Jalen who he was. Kellen Moore is the only coordinator to tell Jalen Hurts who he is. Okay? Hey, you're not going to be able to carry a football team. You're a very talented guy. But you're not going to be able to carry a team to the Super Bowl. You have great players around you. You don't utilize them all. You can't blame Kellen at all for not developing Jalen because you're in the Super Bowl. He gets the same treatment Hurts does. Well, Kellen didn't really develop Hurts, so. Jalen doesn't put up big numbers, so. They're both in the Super Bowl. What's your problem with Moore? He didn't utilize all the talent around him? He couldn't because the quarterback can't get it done. I say this to you. Jalen Hurts can get it done occasionally. I don't think he can do it consistently. That's Steelers and the NFC title game. Just like I'm not sure Josh Allen can win 4 in a row playing A-plus football. Now, he's got far less talent around him than what Hurts does. You can't say Kellen Moore didn't have get this, here's this guy, Walt. This fucking again, your coach is now the leading candidate as of today by Adam Schefter to be the brand new head football coach of the Saints. Yes. That again. Yes. New news, dude. Try to stay up with us. Hit the like button, guys. Appreciate you coming aboard. Okay, Walt? Walt, this isn't old news. This is new news on why Moore is getting the opportunity to become the head football coach of the Saints. Kellen Moore is going to be the next head football coach of the Saints. Not because he sucked in Philly and because you don't like what he did with Jalen Hurts. The Saints know exactly what he did. He elevated an offense to get to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. How ironic. The last time you had this same dynamic, you were in Arizona and you lost your D coordinator to the Cardinals. Now you're in New Orleans. And you're going to lose your offensive coordinator to the home team hosting the game, the Saints. So you're going to try to tell me you don't think Kellen Moore, when he gets to New Orleans, is not going to have a face-to-face during the Super Bowl this upcoming week with the Saints? So his agent is not going to talk with Mickey Loomis and the Benson family? I mean, Senor's right. Last time you had this, Jonathan Gannon was out in Scottsdale looking for homes. By the way, it's a dope-ass house that you helped him get. Okay? And Reyes says, I trust Kellen more than Gannon. I think Kellen Moore wants to win this Super Bowl big time. Who wouldn't? You imagine having that on your resume, a Super Bowl ring as the OC of the Philadelphia Eagles? Hey, man, I would totally want to have that too. You may not ever get back to this chance ever again. I heard Xander make the comment the Saints are a shitty job. I don't really believe any job in the NFL is a shitty job. I do believe you got shitty owners. Two things can be true here. There's only 32 of these things on the planet. And you get generational wealth, whether you succeed or not. Whether you win a Super Bowl or not, you're going to sign a contract that's going to pay you between $7 to $9 million annually for 3 years. You're set up. You know why Cliff Kingsbury's not taking any jobs and why he wasn't interested, and he's very happy in Washington, D.C.? I told you guys, because he's still getting Arizona money. He's still getting the money that the Bidwells own him on his contract extension of a few years ago. Why would he leave Washington for a job that he knows he may get fired? There's no quarterback down in New Orleans. Hey, look, I'll tell you, Kellen Moore and Ben Johnson up in Chicago, you got a tough putt, dude. Ben's got to figure out if Caleb Williams is the guy, and Kellen Moore will have to find a guy down in New Orleans. And I think the Saints are a good organization. They got just as many Super Bowls as you. That's a really good fan base. Okay? I mean, Mickey Loomis is a good GM. He's a Super Bowl winning GM. He's not a bad general manager. They're pretty smart people, man. I actually like that organization. They're in salary cap hell after the Breeze era. They've got to get a quarterback in the room. Personally, I don't think anybody out of this QB batch going into the April draft, I don't know. Maybe somebody does pan out. We'll see. But this will be your 5th offensive coordinator in 5 years. How are you developing a passing game with continuity? You can't. I disagree with a lot of people that say continuity is not an issue. Let me ask you something here. Peyton Manning had the same offensive coordinator in Indianapolis for a decade. Tom Brady had Josh McDaniels for the majority of his career. Bill O'Brien, Charlie Weiss, and Josh McDaniels as his OC when he was in New England for all those 20 years. Mahomes has got the same guy. You don't think there's something to that? Jordan Love is going to have. You don't think there's something to the fact that Brett Favre had Mike Holmgren for the majority of his career? Aaron Rodgers had Mike McCarthy for the majority of his career? And now you've got Matt LaFleur. I think that's the secret sauce to developing a quarterback, is having one coordinator and one guy's ear, because you're getting one voice, not 50 voices. Look how many people that Jalen Hurts has had in his 5 years starting with the Eagles. Ready? Well, he'll have 5. Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, Kellen Moore, and whoever. 5 different approaches to the game. Somebody, I can't remember what show said, Sills, don't you think all those minds, don't you think you take from that a little bit and it's actually an advantage? That's wishful thinking. Tell you what, if I'm Patrick Mahomes, the guy that I have in my ear is one of the greatest play calling head coaches. I'm going to make a point to you, and you tell me before we move on here to our topics. You tell me, okay? Here is the problem with Nick Sirianni being your head football coach. Are you ready? He's not a play calling head coach. Until that dynamic is fixed, you'll have coordinator fired or hired, fired or elevated, fired or hired, fired or elevated. That dynamic will sit in Philadelphia. It'll be there no matter what. Okay? All right? What's this? First year coordinator, and we're in the Super Bowl. Overblown. First year coordinator last year, and you had a 1-7 fucking run. I guess it was overrated last year, too. This is hit or miss. So when somebody says that, Super Bowl, bust. Super Bowl. Why is that? 3 different coordinators. What happened to the guy last year? He was the first-year guy. What happened last year? What happened last year with your D coordinator? Super Bowl bust. Super Bowl. Okay? I mean, last year was a failure. Both coordinators fired. Year before that, both coordinators got head coaching jobs. Now here you are again in the same position you were in 22. Are you going to land on the right guy in 2025? You don't know that. Go by your track record. How would you know that? An opinion? How about what you've done? That's not an opinion. 22, head coaches. 23, fired. Now, hired. Are you going to do it again? We'll see. I mean, you can have an opinion on that. But the facts remain, that's what happened. Hit the like button, guys. Supers all go to the top. Okay? This will be the 9th coordinator in 8 years Hurts has had. Seals, it's true, Hurts has benefited from talent around him, whether it's offense or defense, but it's that an ideal situation for any organization. Absolutely. Not every organization has been able to put talented people around Josh Allen. Not every organization has been able to put people around Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, some of the other guys that are the high-paid guys. Absolutely true. Andrew Berry in Cleveland, all of that, right? Again, I completely disagree with that. All the great coaches and quarterbacks were synced together. Was a great coordinator for decades. North Turner was with Troy Aikman. I mean, name me a quarterback, and I'll name you a guy that was with him the majority of his career. Joe Montana, Bill Walsh. All those guys were tied at the hip with someone for a length of time to develop. That's not an opinion. The only guy not to do that is Gibbs, Joe Gibbs in Washington. Sue goes, nothing you can do about it. Absolutely true. It's hit or miss. Either you line the guy up right or you don't. In Philadelphia, you're either going to get a head coaching job or you're going to be fired if you're a coordinator. This is why I told you. It's got to be one of the sketchiest jobs to take is being a coordinator in Philly. Because if it doesn't get done, you're getting fired. And if it does, you're getting a job in the NFL somewhere. Hit or miss. Is the first times two brand new coordinators to a team have gone to a Super Bowl. I can't think of any other time. I think Parcells. I think Bill Parcells' 1990 coaching staff. I think both coordinators got jobs. Belichick, I think the 90 team, he got the Browns job. And I think the OC on that 90 Giants team, I think he got a job somewhere. Al Groh. Maybe the Jets job. I think it was something like that in 1990. It was where both coordinators ended up going on and getting head coaching jobs outside of what we saw with Gannon and Steichen getting those jobs. Okay? I mean, yeah, so again, Chris Long agrees with me. The problem with the Eagles, and you're always going to have this revolving door, is you're going to have until a head coach is named in Philly as the play caller. This is going to be a revolving door forever until you get that dynamic. And I agree with Chris Long in that process. It's going to be constant revolving door with coordinators. I don't know so much the defensive coordinator, though. Okay? Hit the like button, guys. We appreciate it. We're going to compare the rosters today. Great take by somebody wanted me to do this yesterday. So we're going to do that today. The Eagles offense versus the Chiefs defense. Eagles defense versus the Chiefs offense. Offensive coordinators that could replace Kellen Moore. Eagles versus the Chiefs. And what I think is the Chiefs' secret sauce. I named myself my all-NFC playoff team. A little bit more on Hurts, and we got some breaking news for you. I spoke to Frank Reich a couple minutes before the program. And Frank Reich is the leading candidate to replace Kellen Moore if he wants the job. Frank's making a ton of money from David Tepper and the Carolina Panthers. He wouldn't go into any more. I asked him, he goes, they've talked to him. And they've reached out to him. Frank Reich has been reached out by the Philadelphia Eagles to become the brand new offensive coordinator of the team if Kellen gets the job in New Orleans. Howie always has contingency plans. You know this. Okay? So Frank Reich's name has been brought up. By the way, I believe in the next couple of days we're going to get Howard Eskin on with us too. Get Howard's take on Super Bowl 59 too. So I think it's Frank's job if he wants it. If indeed Kellen gets that job in New Orleans. New OC Super Bowl, new OC bust, new OC Super Bowl, same head coach. You think he may have something to do with them getting there? Absolutely nothing to do with getting there. Because the one consummate, you think Nick Sirianni is responsible for the Eagles getting to the Super Bowl? Okay? What's his job? He doesn't play call, does he? Or does he? That's Kellen Moore's offense. He's a motivational speaker. Okay, so he's what is he, Tony Robbins? Okay. You think he has any influence on the defense? Telling guys how to tackle? With Vic Fangio? That's Vic's show. That's Vic's show. What could possibly Nick Sirianni say to Vic Fangio? Hey, get your head front side? Hey, I think it's organizational. You haven't had a head coach in 25 years with a losing record, no matter if it's Chip Kelly or whomever. I think the organization really does a great job. Hit the like button, guys. We appreciate your supers too, like Philly Don here. I'm going to do the OC candidates. Let's do the OC candidates first. And we'll do the offensive coordinators on potential replacements. I'm telling you, I think it's Frank's job to turn down or not. Nick Sirianni's got a great relationship with Frank. Frank would have no problem. By the way, that dynamic has happened numerous other times where at one time the protege ends up becoming the head coach and you're working for him. I've seen that a lot. Sirianni, the reason for inconsistent coordinators? No, that's an organizational thing. Nick don't hire those coordinators. Are you under the impression he does? Frank would be awesome here. We had an elite run game with him at 17, and he's an X's and O's guy for the room. He's a good person to be in Jalen's ear. Plus, Anthony, the one thing that Jalen Hurts does do to get a good sense of what Remember who taught Nick Sirianni offense? It was Frank Reich. Everything he knows about offense is because of Frank. That's why he's got the respect he has for him. And Jalen watches Phillip Rivers tape. That's his go-to guy is Phillip Rivers. Nick's good, not a great coach. Come on, Sills. He's not my style of coach. Good, Anthony. You could be coached by him. I like a guy that runs his own shop. I like a guy who has complete autonomy over his team, coaching staff, personnel. I like those kind of guys, like Andy Reid, or like a Mike Tomlin, or like a Mike Tomlin kind of guy. Somebody like that. I don't like the so-called CEO kind of coach that picks his own coaches. By the way, I'm not debating this any longer. Nick doesn't pick his coaches. Yet when he first got here, most of the coaching staff was already in place. Said it at the last Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers as a quarterback coach, CJ, I actually like that idea. Phillip's a high school coach, I think, in Alabama. Either Bama or North Carolina, I forget. Where he's a head coach of a high school team somewhere. Phillip Rivers coached also, by the way, I think Jalen's got a lot in common with Phillip Rivers. He was coached by his dad in high school. They were both reared up through like listening to hard coaching. So again, I mean, yeah. Here are some of the candidates that we have to replace Kellen Moore. I do believe that Kellen Moore is getting this Saints gig. Sills, I believe that Howie needs to find a veteran play caller who's been a head coach. One that realizes that not all organizations are the same. Bill Moss said the coordinator stability is key in Kansas City. Yeah, I know. But get this. Some people would say that the stability of Kansas City's coordinators is overrated. How many people believe that the stability of coordinators in Kansas City with Spags and with Andy Reid is overrated? Who would believe that? Here are some of the guys that I think would be in a conversation to replace Kellen. Hit the like button. Quarterback coach, Minnesota Vikings, Josh McCown. I think Josh McCown did a spectacular job. He's being interviewed for some head coaching opportunities. I mean, I like him. He'd be a front and center guy for me. I'd be somebody I'd be interested in. I'm hearing more and more great things about this guy. Our last two DCs were disciples of Vic. Big difference between the original and disciple. Having Frank as the original O, like you said, would be a great upgrade. Absolutely. You know the offense that they're running right now? That's a great take, Anthony. That's Frank's offense. Where did Shane Steichen come from? Can somebody help me out? What coaching staff was Shane Steichen on before he came to Philly? Does anybody remember? Anybody remember? Does anybody remember? Oh, he was the wide receiver coach in Indy. The wide receiver coach in San Diego was Nick Sirianni for Frank. And by the way, Frank recommended him to the Chargers. And the Chargers liked him under Mike McCoy. Shane Steichen. She'll get your ass up. and go call our offense. No, I'm not an offensive guy, dude. That's a little above my pay grade. Defense, I'm with you there. Okay? Okay? Mike McCoy-Kyle was the head football coach. Nick Sirianni was the receiver coach in San Diego, and Frank Reich was the OC. Okay? I like Josh McCown. How many people like Josh McCown? Would you be interested in having them interview Josh McCown for that OC job? I would. I'm going to circle that name. Right? I would. Okay. Number 2, I did write Frank Reich. It's Frank's job if he wants it. Okay, it's Frank's. So we've already talked about him just now. Let's put 2. Number 3, about Jim Caldwell. He's a senior assistant in Carolina right now. Jim Caldwell did a great job in Indianapolis when he was in Indy. I like Jim Caldwell. I think he's a really good offensive-minded guy. Probably not a fit in Philly. So I'm going to take him off that list. How about the LA Chargers passing coordinator, Marcus Brady? He's getting a lot of love right now. Okay? A lot of love. Okay? I mean, a lot of people are interviewing him to be an offensive coordinator. And I like him. And anybody that's in a John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh system, sign me up. I'd love to talk to him. And if I don't give him the job, at least I had a chance to meet him. I'm going to put Marcus Brady. Because I want to hear the kid. How about Doug Musmeyer? About elevating from within. You think the Eagles? Now, that's something to keep an eye on. Doug Musmeyer. Okay? You're not keeping Kellen Moore, guy. Kellen Moore wants to be a head coach. The Saints know this. Jalen Hurts is not his style of quarterback. Can they duplicate that again next year with Barkley? Highly unlikely. How many guys have ever gone for $2,000 consecutively? Not happening. And he's getting old. Not happening. That offense, Kellen knows, is not sustainable. Todd Monken's not available. You can't hire a guy under contract in a lateral move. That's against NFL policy. It's tampering. Okay? What about Deuce Staley? I would interview him. Seals, ask that question off everyone on your list. Do you want to be a head coach? If yes, move on. Stability. Wait a minute, Bob. I don't have a problem hiring a guy if he wants to become a head coach one day. Don't you want a guy who's motivated to do the best job possible? I mean, falling and getting guys like Steve Spagnuolo and getting a guy like Andy, it's the perfect dynamic. Andy Reid, hey, don't you think there's similarities between Jim Johnson and Steve Spagnuolo and how Andy hired his coordinator? Jim Johnson was getting no head coaching job anywhere. Steve Spagnuolo has run that course with a lot of people because of the thing that happened in St. Louis with him, even though I don't think it was a cool thing. Isn't Carolina still paying Frank? If so, I don't think he would move. Would you take the Eagles D-line coaching position if open? I sure would. Why not, man? By the way, I would not be surprised if you're going to take a look at Clint Hurt getting an opportunity to be a defensive coordinator somewhere with one of these new coaches. I'm shocked his name hasn't come up more. When Kellen Moore leaves, he's going to try and poach Tanner Manning to the Saints. Maybe. Fangio and Wright might never want to be head coaches again, having both give the Eagles OC and DC stability for years to come. That right there is a game-winning take. That's a game-winning take right there. Frank's not getting another head coaching job. And Vic doesn't want one. You'd have that dynamic would be intact until you didn't want it to work anymore. That's actually a grand slam take. And that might be what you got going on in Kansas City. I mean, think about this. How many people in here, Eagle fans will say this to you. Coordinator thing is overrated. Let me ask you guys. And that Super Bowl run Kansas City's doing right now, how much do you think the stability of Steve Spagnuolo over the last 5 years and Andy Reid being in the building there, how much do you think they have? And how much do they have to do with the fact that they're winning all these games? How important are those two guys? How important are those two? Do you think the Kansas City's winning? You think having those guys in the buildings for the last 8 years has played a factor in them playing in 8 conference championship games? 5 Super Bowls? 5 Super Bowls in 8 years. And those guys have been in the building. You don't think that has anything to do with their success? Silk sucks at this, but he'd be a great DC. This show's like my family reunion. I hate that shit, but I never miss one. Joseph, you mean Sills. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that. That's good. Hit the like button, my friends. By the way, Dick Vermeil will join us at 3:30. I think Coach is down in the Keys, so he's going to join us at 3:30, and Merrill Reese will join us at 4:30. And we'll have Xander for a couple minutes at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button here. Here's another guy. So Doug Musmeyer, keep an eye on that. You're going to circle him because you know they're going to interview him. How about Kevin Patullo? Your passing coordinator. You think he's going to get an interview? Bet your ass he will. They're going to want to do everything they possibly can to make sure. They're going to do everything they possibly can to try to make sure they're going to get continuity. Right? They're going to do everything in their power to make sure that thing is as simple as it possibly can be. Right? Okay. So Kevin Patullo. Number 7, John Gruden. Could the Eagles handle John Gruden's ego? Could John Gruden handle being a coordinator? I think John Gruden could handle being a coordinator for 1 year. After that, if they had massive success, I don't know. And by the way, you're only going to get John for 1 year. Because once John breaks the tape of someone hiring him, Gruden's going to be hired immediately as a head football coach. Did you see what Mark Davis said about him? The NFL chopped his head off. I mean, that's an owner who did not want to fire John Gruden. And how about this one? If Mark Davis could do it all over again, he'd have John Gruden as his head coach and not Pete Carroll. He would. He doesn't want to go down that route. Too much money, too much bullshit. Gruden brings a lot of strings attached with him. But John's a great coach. Okay? I think because a certain guy that's in the White House now, John's going to get an opportunity. Do I think that a guy like Jeffrey Lurie would want John Gruden in his building? He'd rather have a dog killer in the building than a guy with racist emails, in my opinion. Okay? So, he'd rather have a guy who's in jail or was in jail than a guy who had off-color comments. And people like Eric Allen, who came on this program, endorsed him. Okay? John Morton. I think all these names are viable. Okay? How about this one? Doug Peterson. Wow. What a coaching staff. Doug Peterson and Vic Fangio as your coordinators. Fuck. Doug Peterson and Vic Fangio as your coordinators. Don't say never happened. If it's in the best interest of the Philadelphia Eagles, I got to think that that guy that owns the team would want to do the best. Hey, Doug Peterson is your OC. Jalen likes him a lot. He likes Jalen. Okay? Doug Peterson as your OC. And Vic Fangio as your D coordinator. Tell me how you think that sounds. Hey, Frank Reich is nice. But how about Doug calling plays and working with Nick and Vic Fangio, the D coordinator? You'd have the best coaching staff on the fucking planet. Conflicting coaches? Well, dude, you got a great dynamic in Kansas. You've got to top that dynamic in Kansas City. You don't have the better coaching staff heading into this Super Bowl, and it ain't close. It's not close. You're going into this Super Bowl again with the inferior coaching staff. Not a bad staff, a really good one, but not the best. Andy Reid has the best coaching staff in football. He has the most decorated coordinator. He is the most decorated play-calling head coach. You are nowhere in that room. You had the better team before Joseph, and it didn't matter. You're running into the same shit you ran into 22. You're the better team. You killed the 49ers. You look great. And now you're running into the same dynamic again. Oh, we'll learn from that loss in 22. So wait, Kansas City is not on an iconic run now to go for 3 in a row in 6 years? What are you talking about? You think you're going to get more from your loss than the 5 Super Bowls that they've experienced? You 3 in 8 years, then 5 in 8. You understand that? In that same time frame, they've been to 5 Super Bowls and 8 conference titles. You're telling me that they haven't learned how to win? Well, we're going to learn more from our loss. Then who? Kansas City? Dude, this is not an opinion. That's what the resume says. Do you understand the shit that I'm telling you right now is not an opinion? They've been to 8 conference title games, in 5 Super Bowls in that time frame, but you're going to learn more from your Super Bowl loss to prepare you for this game against them? How? You don't have the coaching staff that's better than them. That's the idea of this, is to get you have to beat Mahomes. One of my topics, can you beat Reed, Spags, and Mahomes? That's the key. Those 3 dudes. By the way, they have the best combination of GM, head coach, D coordinator, and quarterback. Do you not think that that is the secret sauce in Kansas City? They don't have the best roster. By far, it's Philly. But you do not have the best quarterback, coach, coordinator, and D coordinator and GM that they have. It's the best. 31 other teams are trying to put the Rubik's Cube that Kansas City has together. Here, I'll give you another example of this. When the 49ers had their dynasty, they had Carmen Policy, Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, and great coordinators on defense. New England, the greatest defensive mind of all time in Belichick. An offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniel with 6 Super Bowls. The best quarterback of all time. And they had Scott Pioli, and they had Eric DeCosta. Or excuse me, Nick Caserio. Personnel, coordinators, head coach. All of those are what make a dynasty. Okay? I must have missed that Super Bowl when Burrow beat Mahomes in it. We're talking about Super Bowls here. Okay? We're talking about the game. Okay? Yeah, I know. Look at this guy. How many people believe this idiotic take with a 29-year-old Mahomes? How many people believe that? That Kansas City will never get to a Super Bowl again? Okay. I mean, you're right. Mahomes and Reed and all those guys are finished after this Super Bowl. They had one of their worst years on the statistically across the board. Theoretically, they lost 1 game this year. I know. Oh, they weren't even that great offensively this year. They were good defensively. Okay? Clairvoy asks a great question here. Sills, does Kansas City pass the eye test? If you're going to go by the eye test, Philadelphia is superior to them. They're superior. Well, we're going to take a look at that here in a minute. Doug Peterson probably is not happening. I'm going to be realistic. That's probably not. How about doing this? David Garrardi, quarterback coach, Kansas City. Andy Reid disciple? Got to remember something here. If the Eagles are going to get a coach, it's going to have some tie-in with Nick, Frank, and Doug. That whole room there like that. They like that coaching tree. I wouldn't be shocked if they go out to the Los Angeles Rams and take a look at that kid. Nick Cotty. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't look at that kid. That kid's a really upcoming guy, and he's getting a lot of play to be an offensive coordinator. He's a passing coordinator out in Los Angeles, and anybody around that, Sean McVay, you can't go wrong. All those guys that get off that coaching staff go on to become head football coaches and pretty decent play callers. I brought this name up a couple weeks ago, T. Martin. So I'm going to put my top 3 guys down here who I think can get hired. Frank Reich's number 1. It's Frank's job if he wants it anyway. I know this. By the way, I'm not a reporter. I just know a lot of people. You see that? Did you see that post I put up? Did you guys see that post I put up on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show? I'd implore some of you. It's funny. People ask the question to me all the time. Seals, how do you know so many people? And what I did was I posted a picture of Chuck Pagano. Chuck Pagano's just joined the Baltimore Ravens coaching staff. The guy used to have a job at Jimmy Johnson's coaching staff back when he was with the Hurricanes. And he used to check beds with Tommy Tuberville. So I posted this on my Twitter about this. Check this out. So he's now joined his coaching staff. You can take a look at this picture here. 5 head football coaches, 4 NFL coaches, 3 assistant head football coaches, 5 coordinators, and every one of these guys became assistants on NFL coaching staffs. And by the way, won 3 Super Bowl rings and also a couple national championships. So Chuck Pagano's a friend of mine now on the coaching staff with Baltimore. I got people everywhere. I could just call the Steelers, the Ravens, Carolina Panthers. One of my dear friends is now the assistant general manager, head of personnel up in New England. Got them everywhere. There's nowhere I don't have somebody. Rams, I got somebody. 49ers. Okay, there's nobody. I've got 3 coaches on your coaching staff that were Miami Hurricanes. And one of them asked to wear my number. So that's how, I don't know. That's how I know people. Okay, I just, not a reporter though. Frank was a former teammate of mine. Been on this program 3 times. Now I know why he doesn't want to do interviews. If Kellen leaves, he's the new Eagle OC if he wants it. Okay? You heard that here first. If he wants it, it's his gig. If I were going to go Frank Reich, I'm going to go Doug Musmeyer. And I'd say Josh McCown. Do I think they would hire Gruden? No. Keith goes, does he want it? It's always difficult, Keith, to say, I want it when somebody's still employed and you're playing in a Super Bowl. Frank's got too much respect for the process because Frank's had 14 different jobs as an assistant coach. So he knows the process. He's not going to give that answer now. But me asking the answer, him saying that the Eagles have reached out to him. By the way, the Philadelphia Eagles have reached out to Frank Reich and his interest on being a coach in Philly. That's a fact. Okay? That's a fact. Okay? Right? I would interview Bobby Slowick. His O-line got beat up, and he was the fall guy. Yeah, that was a really weird firing because a year ago, he was up for numerous head coaching jobs, and he did a ton of interviews a year ago. And all of a sudden, he gets blown out. I don't know. Maybe something between the head football coach, like you saw with Steve Wilkes in San Francisco, maybe something like that. Shit, they're talking about firing Sean McDermott. There's even conversation in Baltimore about firing John Harbaugh because they didn't get it done. Like I said, man, when you don't win, no matter what your resume says, NFL's not for long. You could be one of the most accomplished coaches like John Harbaugh, and that doesn't matter. Nobody cares what you did in the past. That's Mike McCarthy. McCarthy got a Super Bowl title too. Fired his ass. If you're not in the now and you've not evolved as a coach, you're getting your ass handed to you. Tell you one thing that I will give Nick Sirianni credit for. You know what? What do you think the best thing that Nick does to keep his job and to keep that thing rolling the way it is? What do you think the one thing that he does great that other coaches in Philadelphia couldn't do? What's the one thing you think he does well? Win? They all won. There you go. Right on, Howard. Adaptability. In-game adjustments on the game of being the head coach. I think John McMullen wrote a column, right, Xander? The politics of Nick Sirianni. He gets it. Remember, Frank said that. If you know how to be a head coach in Philly, that job's yours for a long time. Doug couldn't do it. Andy ran out of time. Remember, that's the dynamics between those two. Doug didn't want to roll with the punches. Andy ran out of time. 14 years is enough. I don't give a shit if you're George Halas or Don Shula. Pick a coach, Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick. 14 years, you don't get it done? Hey, man, this ain't a Supreme Court justice job. Do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button. Give me a total on where we are with the likes. Thank you guys so much. By the way, again, like I said, this ain't a Supreme Court justice job. You know, you're not here for lifetime. You don't get it done, no matter who you are. 167, 175, not bad. You guys, really great stuff, man. Yesterday, we got 500. Your day before that, we got over 600. You guys are great. Thank you guys very much. Please hit the like button. Yeah. T. Martin would be somebody I'd be interested in too. What they've done with Lamar Jackson. Now, you got to remember something. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and the rest of the passing game, there's no way they like this offense. There's no way. Let me tell you something. Think about this. If you ran this offense last year, A.J. Brown's not getting a contract extension. A.J. Brown got a contract extension theoretically off a losing season. Okay? Or 1-7 down the stretch. He got a raise. You ain't getting a raise with that numbers. Nick would get a 10-year contract from me just because I know he was the asshole who thought, let's just hard count the tush push 100 times in a row. There's something about him. I mean, I do think he's getting a little better. Not going to lie. I think he's getting better. He is. He's getting better. And I think the influence of Kellen and Vic Fangio and the coaching staff that they've assembled this year, I think have helped him. I think the training wheels coaching staff they had last year, I think it was a detriment to him. Okay? I didn't say I liked him yet. I said he's getting better. I said he's getting better. Yeah. I think he is getting better. By the way, bottom of the hour, Dick Vermeil, former Eagles head football coach, Super Bowl champion, and Hall of Fame coach will join us. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. Merrill Reese will join us at 4:30. We're going to try to get Xander on at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Please do me a favor and hit that like button. Guys really had a great first hour. Let's see if we can bang it out. By the top of next hour, let's get to about 250. I'd love to see if we can roll up there about 250 here, man. Thank you guys again. All right. So that topic. Let me go back to this one here. What makes you think the Eagles can beat Andy Reid, Spags, and Mahomes in Super Bowl 59? What makes you think you can beat those two or those three? Saquon. Saquon puts the Eagles over the hump. Okay? Carter. Well, they got their own Carter. Creating turnovers. Time management. Where are you smarter than 22 playing these guys again in the Super Bowl? Where are you smarter and better? Would Doug Peterson develop Jalen's vision in passing as an OC? He did it with Trevor Lawrence. Boy, you guys, I mean, Kellen Moore got you in the NFC Championship game being the OC. Is it about really that, or is it about still winning games? Doug Peterson got fired because of not developing Trevor because he didn't win games. That's why he got fired. Remember, the organization gave Trevor Lawrence $55 million. Doug Peterson got fired because he didn't win games. Kellen Moore's getting a job with the Saints because he won games, not because he elevated Jalen Hurts' game. You guys are not getting it. You're not getting it. You think Kellen Moore's getting his job because Jalen Hurts? He's getting his job because he's in the NFC title game. He won games. That's the offensive coordinator's number one priority is win games. Last year, John McMullen said it. Offense was better last year. They didn't go anywhere. They played one more week than Dallas did last year. No, excuse me, Dallas got crushed by Green Bay. They played one more week than the New York Giants. No one can stop the run. Doesn't matter. I've never seen anything like it. I think we could run wing T in class teams. Okay? So you're heading into this game feeling that you have the better team like you did in 22. And that what you have is better than Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, and Patrick Mahomes. Okay? I don't. You have inferior coaches, albeit good ones. Albeit good ones. And a generational quarterback. It's going to take a lot to beat them. And do you have enough? Barkley's the difference. Okay. I think you're underestimating their defense. I do. I think you're underestimating them. They've got more Super Bowl experience than you. They've got more winning than you. Got more conference championships than you. You have the better team. Would you rather have the better team versus the better coach team and the better quarterback in the Super Bowl? What would you rather have? By the way, I'm not making any predictions yet. Dart says I'd rather have the better team than the better quarterback and the better coach team. Okay, I'm not picking Kansas City. I didn't say that. You have no idea where I am and what I'm doing yet. You're the bullies on the block. Well, didn't you take 2 quarterbacks out in the NFC Championship game a couple years ago? Didn't Reddick destroy that quarterback? You beat him 31-7. You beat the shit out of him, right? You beat the shit out of the Redskins. You went into that Super Bowl on a high note. Same here. You think Barkley is that much of the difference? Okay. I'm not saying you're wrong. Okay, and I'm just having a conversation here. Okay? I mean, that's going to take some. That will be an historic win. It'll be the greatest win in Eagle franchise history if you win that game in 11 days. And you'll be alive to see it. That's my proclamation. If you win this game in 11 days, it's the greatest win since this team has been born. What was that, the 30s? 32, is it? It's your greatest win. O-line and D-line, no turnovers plus 3 and outs will land the Eagles a victory. Blaine, you think you got a better D-line than Kansas City? Do you? 33, thank you, Sully. Jalen Carter's not better than Chris Jones. Not yet. What is his name? Xander laughs at me every time. Carl Affis, you think that Nolan Smith's better than him? You don't have a better corner than they have. Besides Saquon, this team is better than 22 as a whole. On defense, every position has been upgraded. And this D-line rushes together, best DBs, and by far the best linebackers. Oren Burks is now the best linebacker. Okay. You got a better pass rush? Really? Let's take a look at those numbers. I'm interested in that because Kansas City, I think, is a good football team, but I don't think they had quite the year. By the way, I'm not picking anybody. I'm having a conversation with you guys right now. So don't get fucking butthurt right now where we are in a conversation. Don't get yourself all fucking bent out of shape. Holy Christ, you guys you start getting butthurt when someone brings shit up on you here. Relax. Let's see here. I do like how much emotion you have, though, for your team. I do dig that. So let's take a look at them in the regular season here. Let's see if you do have a better pass rush than them. I can't believe the year Kareem Hunt had. So sacks. Let's see here. Chris had 5. Carl Aftis had 8. Wharton had 7. Kind of compatible. Kind of compatible in sacks. I don't think the number's that whacked. Okay? I don't think it's that whacked. So probably kind of in the same room with sacks. Jones is a better player. Let's see on INTs. And what McDuffie had. McDuffie had 2. Connor had 2. Cook had 2. Hicks had 3. Kind of compatible there too. I think the biggest difference on defense from 22 and 24, we don't have as much depth, but we have better high-impact players, and sometimes better players win. I'll say this to you, Anthony. I think you do have players that are trending up, like Nolan Smith. Zach Bond continues to play great. Okay? Seals, you're hurting so many feelings. Huh? I'm not saying anything that's not true. Okay? They said they're leaving emotional ass-grown men. Oh, I don't really care, Flex, and you know that. They go, have at it. I'm sure there's cheerleader shows everywhere. I'm just having a conversation here. And if you get butthurt over a combo, that's kind of a you thing here. It's just a conversation. And by the way, I'm not picking the Chiefs here yet. I'm not picking the Eagles yet. I'm just having a convo. If you can't take a conversation, fuck, this ain't going to be a one-sided convo here. We're going to look at everything here. You're going to have another coordinator for the 5th time in 5 years. That's not continuity. Some people think continuity is overrated. I don't. All the great quarterbacks who have won numerous Super Bowls had the same guy in the building. Oh, but it's different in Philly. Okay, well, it's why your quarterback hasn't developed. Eagles' run game will limit Mahomes' opportunities. It's a great take. That's a great take. You know what the problem with what do you think the number one problem with the Eagle run game, though, is? Compared to 22, what would be the number one problem? I want to see if you guys, how smart you are. What is the number one problem? The number one problem the Eagles have in their run game. Eagles' run game will limit Mahomes' opportunity. Defense is also superior in 22. I wouldn't say superior. Team had 70 sacks, which will make it harder for Mahomes to score. I don't think you're wrong here. Too predictable, Gage says? No. What's the one problem that the Eagle run game had? There you go, Tim. Tim. That fucking team gets the ball, one play. Hey, let me ask you guys this. How are you keeping Mahomes off the scoreboard? On the first touch of the game for the Eagles offensively, he takes it to the house. That's keeping Mahomes off on the sidelines? I don't think so. That's quite a problem to have. We score too quick. Yeah. Okay? They score too quick. Okay? Right? You know, wait a minute here. 70 sacks didn't travel well to the Super Bowl in 22. Well, what makes so sure your sacks are going to travel this time? Okay? Do forced fumbles and turnovers differential also? You left out playoff sacks because we are number one by far. Okay. Hey, all those sound great. You're going against a team that's won 3 Super Bowls and 2 in a row. I don't give a fuck what your stats are. It doesn't matter against Kansas City. These are the outliers. This is the team. This is it. These are the guys. There's no hokey fluke that they're in this. There's no fluke. I'm not saying the Eagles are a fluke. They dominated the Eagles dominated their way to the Super Bowl. Yes. They dominated their way to the Super Bowl. Okay, 70 sacks mean nothing. 2,000 yards means nothing. Is that what you're saying? Eagles by 19. Okay. Let's take a look at that. That's a good eye. That's a good ass. Maniac, that's a pretty good call here. Let me take a look at Super Bowl. By the way, Dick Vermeil is going to join us in a couple minutes here at the bottom of the hour. Let's take a look at this here. Let's take a look. And we'll go from the last couple Super Bowls here. Let's see, Super Bowl by, I think Maniac said what, 19? Right? Let's take a look at the last couple Super Bowls here. 25-22 overtime, San Fran. 38-35, 3 points. 23-20. In 22 versus the Bengals. Bucks blew out KC. Kansas City by 11 over San Francisco. New England at 19 by 10. Philadelphia, what is that? 8 by 8 over New England. 6, 5, 4. Seattle's the last true blowout, 43-18 in 2014. This ain't going to be no blowout. We can't make this game bigger than it is. How did the Giants beat Brady 2 times and we beat Brady pass rush? Rush was not existent the first time. We have to get to him. If not, we're in for a long game. I would say this, the key to beating Mahomes, I think it's simple, man. You've got to make a one-target dude. You can't let him spread the ball around the way he spreads the ball around to numerous wideouts. That's the key to him. This guy will have 10 different targets that he's going to go to. You've got to isolate him and make him go to 3 dudes. You've got to cut that down. Dude, covering 12 different guys is impossible to defend, especially when he gets out in the perimeter and he starts slinging the ball around. When you got a guy that looks the field over and sees the entire field the way he does, that's a tough cover for any defensive back. He's going to look one way, throw like that. He's going to do all this shit. Okay? And in my opinion, the key in this ball game, you've got to get Carter going. He is the key also. Internal pressure up the middle. Bond, Burks, whomever. Internal pressure. Edge rushers have to hold them in the sandbox and limit those targets. It's the only way to defend him. He's going to make throws. He's going to make. Dude, he's throwing to Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. These guys could barely make the number 3 wide receiver hole with the Eagles. These are just dudes. Hollywood Brown's okay. Smith-Schuster was going to go play in fucking Canada after he left Kansas City. I mean, these are dudes. Who are the best defenses Mahomes has faced this year? Come on, man. He beat you in the Super Bowl. 2 years ago with pretty much the same personnel. They got the same team, same coordinator on defense. And here they are again with a one-loss team. Okay, the Denver Bronco game they gave away, sure, okay. Seattle run game and Legion of Boom traveled. Eagles by 15, okay? Eagles by 15. Coach Vermeil is going to join us in a couple minutes. We'll get his take. The coaching in Kansas City is spectacular. The quarterback has more talent. I'm going to make a comparison to you. It's probably for some of you younger guys, you're probably going to not know what I'm talking about here. This is like Tiger and the Nicklaus conversation. Who's the greatest golfer of all time? People are going to go, that are younger, are going to go Tiger. You're not wrong. Tiger's the most athletic guy and the best athlete golf's ever seen. Jack's got the titles, though. It's like the Brady and Aaron Rodgers conversation. Aaron Rodgers is by far the more gifted quarterback. Brady's the better guy. Okay, he's the better guy. Mahomes combines all that. This kid sees the game like a coach. He adjusts on the fly like a coach. He audibles out of it. Let me ask you this. How fucking insane is it that this guy audibles out of Andy Reid plays that are called? And most of the time, Mahomes is right. Here's the difference between Mahomes and Hurts in a nutshell. That offense is Patrick Mahomes. The offense in Philly is Kellen Moore's. There's more freedom. The straitjacket. Ain't no straitjacket on Mahomes. He's got a feel for the game. And Andy allows that. He didn't do that with Donovan. That is the complete difference between Andy Reid, Philly, and Andy Reid, Kansas City. He's got a dude in the room he believes knows what he's doing. We're not talking enough about special teams. We'll get to that. That's going to be a key component. Okay? Blaine, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Okay? Better thinking quarterback than McNabb. We beat them last year in Kansas City. Nice consolation prize, no question. Josh Allen beat them too this year. Doesn't really matter until you get into the game that matters. Does it, Philly Don? Josh Allen won 2 this year. He's 1-1 versus Mahomes this year. Right? I've been looking forward to this. By the way, we're going to get Merrill Reese on. And before I get Coach Vermeil on, I think Coach Vermeil is going to like this because Merrill Reese, I go, who is your favorite coach to cover? And you know what he said? He goes, it's Dick Vermeil. And I go, why? He goes, because I'll tell you what, man. Coach Vermeil, you'd sit down with him. He was as passionate about the football team back in 1980 when he was transforming that football team into a success. I've had Randy Cross on, who's a dear friend of mine I played against when he was with the 49ers. He goes, I'll tell you what, Coach Vermeil, St. Louis, Coach Vermeil, Philadelphia, they were 2 different dudes, okay? They were 2 different people. So without further ado, guys, please hit the like button. We're really happy that we can do this. I'm going to have to give him my Coach Jimmy Johnson's address at Almirada because coaches are right around him right now, and I want Coach Vermeil to get on the boat. I just text Jimmy, and I say, hey, I think Dick Vermeil's down in your neck of the woods. He goes, you're kidding. I go, nope. So I'm going to give him his email address. Here is Dick Vermeil. Hall of Fame football coach. I appreciate you coming aboard, Coach. Thank you so much. Are you enjoying your vacation?
Oh, I sure am. Really, I'm rehabbing a back operation, so it's nice to be down here in the warm weather.
I really did, Coach. So I hope you don't mind. I emailed it to Jimmy Johnson, and because he's an Almirada, and I said,
Yeah.
for meals, he goes, I don't know. I didn't know that you were nursing a back injury. He goes, God, send him my email. So if you get an email from Coach Johnson, you know where that came from.
Well, thank you. He's the best.
Absolutely. Hey, Coach, tell me in your opinion what you learned, and if this is maybe overblown, what did you learn from your first Super Bowl appearance to when you got back with St. Louis? Is there anything Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and those guys can take? I know that's a new coordinator with Kellen Moore. It's not Shane Steichen. But as a head coach, what did you learn from your first Super Bowl to the second one when you got there when you were in St. Louis?
Well, take 5 offensive Hall of Fame players to the game with you. Really, really makes a difference in how you move the ball. Okay. The other thing is don't turn it over. Okay. But really, I learned a lot. Being in broadcasting all those years, for 14 years, I watched a lot of fine football coaches coach, and I learned a little bit from all of them. I learned a lot from being in locker rooms with players and listening to them talk and communicating with them. And I also knew I couldn't be what I was. Out of it 14 years, I couldn't go back and be my own offensive coordinator, coach my own quarterbacks, and have full control of personnel and do all that with. And you had a 10-man coaching staff. And I knew I couldn't do that. So I hired very experienced people around me, and I think I did a pretty good job of leading the organization, changing the culture, and presenting players in the frame of mind to my assistant coaches to be coached and to be demanded a lot of. I mean, when we went back in '97, I'll tell you, we went to work the old-fashioned way, and it all paid off. And then we brought in Mike Martz, and he did an unbelievable job, and my whole staff did a good job. But Mike put the finishing touches on those Hall of Fame players.
Merrill told me that your wife was head of personnel when you were in Philly, so I'm going to leave it there. So I heard that there, Coach, a little bit. So, Coach, Jimmy Johnson, I mentioned to you, he told me one of the most important things that you could possibly have around you is a great staff.
No
And
question.
I'm not taking a shot at any way whatsoever of the staff a year ago, but, you just take a look at what you're looking at now. Kellen may become the next head football coach of the Saints. Fangio has done a spectacular job, but you've got Bobby King with the linebackers. You've got Clint Hurt with the D-line coach, who's a dear friend of mine. The staff that they assembled this time versus a staff that they assembled last year, how important is that, Coach, to get the right people at the right place with player development and elevating an offense or a defense?
Well, you've got to have the people. So it all starts with your personnel department, and no one's done a better.
Hopefully we can reconnect here with our friend Dick Vermeil here. Man, that was really good. So I'll re-ask that question again. But again, we've made this comment before, man. Jimmy Johnson said it flat out that if you don't have the personnel around you, and I mean coaching personnel, you're not going to really connect with the players no matter how good the coaching staff is and no matter how good you think your head coach is. If you don't have the Jimmies and Joes, Dave Wannstedt said it a couple months ago. Dave said it, man. The situation with what you're going to have here with Vic Fangio, it's not going to be a scheme thing. This is going to be more of a personnel issue here on what you're going to do when you're trying to improve your defense and trying to get player personnel. So this came down to, again, getting the proper coaches. This guy, Bobby King, the linebacker coach, in my opinion, has just done a whale of a job with the football team. And as Coach was saying here, let's bring it back up here and say what Coach was saying here. Coach, how important is that to have that coaching staff around you for you to be able to really connect and player develop on both sides of the ball?
Dan, I always considered it very important to have people all brighter than me. And that wasn't a challenge in some cases, but I always respected smart, hardworking people, and especially people with great experience. Marion Campbell, and Fred Bruni that I had here at the Eagles with. Really, I mean, they're difference makers. They're difference makers, and at the Rams, I bring in Mike Mark, but I had Jim Hannaford and those kind of guys, Peter Junta, these kind of people. Was just Al Saunders, who later was coordinator for me in Kansas City. You've got to have them. You can't supply all the answers yourself. And I know I came up when I had one assistant in high school as a head coach. I had one assistant as a head coach in junior college. I had 10 assistants at UCLA, and I was the first guy in the history of the NFL to have 10 assistants in the NFL. So, I've just always believed you've got to have good people with you and people that have strengths where you don't have strengths, and you add your strengths to them, and then you provide them with the team and the right frame of mind to be coached. You provide them the structure, the discipline, the work ethic. You teach them that hard work is not a form of punishment. And it's the only way you get better. And Jimmy Johnson, no one did it any better than Jimmy Johnson did. You don't have to call all the plays and everything, but you've got to make all the right decisions on who you hire.
Absolutely. Coach, one of the most important things that he taught me was, hey, look, a coordinator's responsibility is not to make players look great. His responsibility is to win ball games.
No
and
question.
When you look at Jalen Hurts' numbers this year, and I had Phil Simms on a couple of weeks ago, and he said the same thing to me. I go 29-03, 18 touchdowns, and Phil popped back at me and went, "What's the record?" And I'm like, "I think it's 14-2." And he goes, "What are we talking about here?" Yeah. I mean, we're talking about, Coach, is that just, again, something of a talking point for the media? Because, I mean, they're 17-3 now. I mean, who cares what the numbers are, right? I guess It's about winning. It's not about numbers.
Well, they formed a profile of how they're going to win this year. But fortunately for them, they could win any way they want to. They do not have a weakness. Now, they were on the quarterback a lot because he's holding the ball, he's getting a sack. But just last week, he proved, hey, you want me to throw the ball and win the football game? I'll throw the ball and win the football game. But it takes the coordination from the coordinators to help him do that, the game plans and everything else. But they really have no weakness. And Jalen, my God, I've seen him throw the ball. You can't believe he could throw it so well. I've seen him struggle, and sometimes the inconsistency comes from game plan changes. Maybe it just didn't fit him this week or something the opponent's doing. But I've said many times publicly in Philadelphia, I don't think he has a weakness. I don't know where it is, and sometimes those are weakness or they'll show up because of other things other than your own innate ability.
Coach, do you think this one dynamic hurts Jalen Hurts' development? Say Kellen gets that job in New Orleans. This will be the 5th coordinator in 5 years. And, I mean, when you look around, Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, 9 years. You look in Kansas City, Mahomes and Andy for all these 8 years so far since he's been starting. Even Josh McDaniel, I know they had Bill O'Brien up there along with Charlie Weiss was up there a little bit with him, but that consistency they had at coordinator, hearing that one voice in your ear. Peyton Manning had Coach Moore in Indianapolis all that time. Does that really hurt a player's development, especially at quarterback, when you have so much change at that position?
I think it can interrupt your progress, but he's already proved that he can adapt quickly, and in the long run, then he has great exposure to many different varieties of offense and schemes and mechanics. And I think it adds depth to your profile as a quarterback. But as long as the next guy comes and stays longer so he can take advantage of all the exposed experience and get better at one scheme, and it becomes a little more automatic how the coach wants it done and all these kinds of things. But the great thing about Philadelphia, the offensive line is a great neutralizer for quarterback problems. Even though he's been sacked a lot, that's been his fault. That offensive line is both good run offense and pass protection offense. So, he's already proved he can play well with new coordinators. He's doing it this year. You already repeated the win-loss record. Does it help him in the long run? Maybe. In the short term, no. I think it can cause some learning curves, maybe negative curves.
Coach, I've had Coach Martz on my program numerous times, and I love Coach Martz. He lives out in California, and he told me that your offense, even with the way you threw the ball around the yard, it went through Marshall Faulk. If I'm not mistaken, Coach, Your offense in Philadelphia went through Wilbert Montgomery. And
No
now
question.
you're seeing that same thing and that same dynamic here where you've got this offense going with Barkley. I mean,
Yeah.
Coach, for a guy that knows, I mean, people will say the greatest show on turf. And I'm like, yeah, well, that guy, Marshall Faulk, I think that was the engine of that football team when Coach Vermeil had that team. When you see Barkley, I mean, I've never seen a more explosive player out of the backfield like that. And we've seen them all. I mean, I played against Walter. I played against Dickerson. I've seen some of the best, but I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. His impact on that offense for you has been what this year?
Oh my God. You know, I wasn't surprised. I said it right off the bat. I thought in college when he came out, he was an outstanding. He was one that comes along every 10 years, okay? He goes to the Giants. He doesn't have the same kind of support staff. As soon as Howie brought him here, I thought we were destined for both him to have the finest career year in his history, and the Eagles would really take advantage because they have a great offensive line coach and the offensive personnel along the line. I mean, those guys, you put those guys together, they're amazing. They really are. And the run game, how they scheme it, was going to be outstanding.
Coach, a couple more for you here. What made you a better coach in St. Louis? I mean, I'm going to tie this in with Andy Reid. You know, I looked at Andy in Philadelphia, 14 years he's there, played in a lot of big games, obviously didn't win a Super Bowl. He goes to Kansas City, and obviously he does one dynamic that he did in Philly. He gets maybe the best defensive coordinator of his time in Spagnuolo, who's got 4 Super Bowl rings. He's a play-calling head football coach. That's a great coaching staff that he has. But, Coach, for you, what made you a different coach from Philly in St. Louis? Because I think I see a different Andy Reid in Kansas City. Or is he not a different Andy Reid to you?
Well, Andy Reid is Andy Reid, and the experience that he has, he becomes a better professor of the game every year. You know, you've been doing your scheme for so long. You eliminate what you don't like, you thought you were going to like the year before. You add new things you like for this year, and I've said in his offensive meetings, okay, so I know it's just there's nobody like him. Maybe nobody ever coached offensive football as a head coach like he has in the history of the game. Yeah, just nobody like him. He humble, hardworking guy, has great communication skills with players. A little bit different, okay, a little bit different, but just dynamic. Just he's amazing. The difference, I think, from the Eagles and Kansas City, when he went to Kansas City, he took over the entire football side of the organization, in my opinion. He brought in his own people in the personnel and general managership and all that, and they were a team immediately when they walked in the building. They were all Andy Reid guy backed by a great ownership team and Clark, Hunt. So I just knew in my own mind, having worked in Kansas City, he was going to be very, very successful. Not that he wasn't in Philadelphia, my God, but he was going to be better.
Hey, Coach, so you're saying he ages like your fine wine. Is
I
that
hope
right?
so. I hope so. Our wine, we don't make enough for it to age very long. Okay.
Yeah. Coach, a couple more again here. Like I said, how important is that, Coach, for you when you got into Philly? You changed pretty much the entire organization. And like you said, Andy, and I don't think you get that autonomy today with a lot. I think Belichick made that comment a couple of months ago where he said, today's NFL, you've got people in analytics, you've got a lot of people that get in the way. Didn't you go into St. Louis and also with Charlie Army and all those guys change the entire dynamic of what St. Louis was? I mean, Mike Mort said this going into that Super Bowl championship year. He's like, I don't know, man. There were a lot of people kind of hooting and hollering about whether or not we were going to win. And then Trent Green gets hurt. And Dick Vermeil sits in the room and goes like this. No, it's this kid Warner. And I'm going to go with him. Coach, you know how many people you have to go through today to make that decision? You made that decision in that room with those guys. Mike Martz told me. You made that decision in the room and said, no, we're not going to get a quarterback. Jermaine, he wasn't a fan of Mike Martz. I'll leave it there. And he just goes, he said, no, you made the call. I mean, kind of hard to do that today in today's NFL, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I don't think there's any one way to be successful, but whatever way the situation you find yourself in, you as a head coach have got to make it successful for you. Listen, there are only three kinds of coaches in the NFL. One you win because of, one you win along with, and one you win in spite of. And if you don't fit in those three categories, you don't get to find out if you can get the coach. How many guys got fired after 1 year this year? Okay. Okay. Then that's it. And so I always, regardless, of course, the Eagles, I had the 51% control of football with 100% support from Jimmy Murray and the owner. The Jimmy was the general manager. St. Louis had 100% from John Shaw and Jay Zygmunt. And it was, and my coaching staff and I, because I needed it, I'd been out of it. My coaching staff was a board of directors. We made decisions together and collectively. Now, sometimes you need one guy to make it to 51%, and that would be the head coach. But I was so fortunate to be able to be surrounded by wonderful men and then great personnel in Charlie Army and John Becker. You know, we didn't have a first and second or third round pick my first 3 years in Philadelphia. We didn't have those kind of things. But we took a philosophy of coaching and to build what they call today a culture. We didn't call it a culture then. We call it we're building a football team the old-fashioned way. We're going to work their ass off, and if they don't like it, they can leave anytime they want to. And you, as a head coach, have got to get their attention. Sometimes you got to do something that shocks them, and you say, all of a sudden, geez, here goes their first-round pick, and he just cut. Wow, I better, Anyway, that group came together real well because of a combined effort of everybody, all the way from the president to the general manager to me. There was no power struggle. We all were on the same page. It's sometimes you're, as a head coach, that's your job. Get everybody on the same page and then recognize those that don't want to turn the page and give somebody else that job. Okay.
Coach, is Nick Sirianni an elite coach in your opinion?
He's a winning coach. I really don't know Nick. I didn't even go to a practice session this year because of my back issues and that stuff. I've been on the practice field. I have dinner with him once a year that Howie Roseman organizes with Jay Wright and Jaworski, and it's a wonderful, wonderful evening. And the ownership, we have a wonderful time. But I really don't know Nick. I follow him. Sometimes I don't understand him, but I know this. He's got a winning record. So he fits in one of those three categories. And what did he do this year? He surrounded himself with good people. Vic Fangio should be the NFL Assistant Coach of the Year. The job that he has done, yes, better personnel than last year, but extremely well coached, structured, and disciplined. The tempo of that whole defense has changed.
Absolutely. Coach, finally, Jalen Hurts, do you think he's an elite quarterback in the NFL today? I
think he is. I really do. I don't think he has any limitation other than system and breakdowns from times in game plans. I don't see it. I really don't. Now, maybe I'm not coaching him and I'm not on the practice field with him, but I don't see any limitations.
Coach, the sacks, that's what bugs me about him because it takes him out of field position sometimes, and especially in a game that 3 points can be the differential, as you know, in a football game.
Yeah, right.
That's he limited the turnovers this year, but he took 45 sacks in 16 games this year. That's a lot of sacks.
Too many. That's everybody's fault, not just his.
Who wins the game, Coach?
I have no idea. I know this, that I'll really be happy for the guy that wins it, and I'll be very sad for the team that loses it.
Coach, enjoy your time and your rehab there where you are, and I appreciate you doing this so much for me. Tell your lovely wife thank you so much for making this happen as well. Thank you, Coach. Have a great time.
All right. Take care, Dan. Appreciate the time. Bye-bye.
You bet. Dick Vermeil with us here, folks. We appreciate him taking time out of his vacation to do that, so pretty cool. Please hit the like button. You hear what he said? Was kind of – he fits one of those categories. They win in spite of. Wait a minute. Dick Vermeil did not endorse Nick Sirianni. That's what? A Hall of Fame coach does not get the endorsement of Nick Sirianni. What? Oh, man. Is Nick Sirianni? Oh, get the hell out of here. Elite. 2903. Elite. 2903. Elite. I'll tell you what. I think Dick Vermeil just took a shit on Nick Sirianni. You're in 3 categories. You win in spite of. I think that's the one. He wins in spite of. Holy shit. Breaking news. Dick Vermeil thinks he's one of the 3. You pick one. What a great tweet. Holy shit. So, oh man. Elite. Holy cow, man. Oh, God. Dang it. Man. Wow. What were the 3 categories? Somebody, you win in spite of. That's the only one somehow I heard. The Eagles win in spite of Nick Sirianni. Wow. How is that? By the way, I think how awesome is that? Dick Vermeil is in rehab in the Keys, and he took time out of his day to come aboard with all of you. Not just me, all of you. Congratulations to you guys. Hit that like button. By the way, if you don't have over 200 likes, I'm not going to get. Who we got coming on? Ray Didinger's coming on. And who's? Oh, Howard Eskin's coming on this week, too. We got Ray Didinger coming up. And we also have Howard Eskin coming up. Come on, man. Hit that like button. Where are we on that like list? Okay, 233. I'm kind of in there. That's not too bad. That's not awful. How you doing? Hey, by the way, I thought people hated coming on this program. You see what happens with Big Sills' show here? You're told not to come on when you're employed by people. And when you're not, then they want to come on. Angelo doesn't go on any other show but ours. You know that, right? How you doing? Sills is mad after that. This guy Marcus is some douchebag. Hey, why in the world would I be mad at what Dick Vermeil says? Because he doesn't agree with me? If that's the case, Marcus, I'd block your dumb ass. We don't block people here unless you're a total tool bag. See, this is what Marcus does again. Hey, Marcus, go try that shit on WIP. You'll never get on the air. Marcus, this is one of the only shows you get to disagree with the host, and the host wants you here. Okay? One day you'll wake up and get that. Then again, I should get that because you know why? Marcus, I'm going to apologize to you. Yes. Marcus, are you ready? I'm going to apologize to you. You're here every day. So obviously I don't get it. So I'm going to apologize to you. I can't believe it, but I just did. Okay? You're here every day. So what I'm saying to you is dumb. So I apologize. Yeah. You get it, Marcus. Sills is an asshole. He says it every day to me. Okay. Sills, the Tiger Mahomes comp was good. Mahomes scrambles and recovers like Tiger, but I still think we have the talent and staff on defense to keep Mahomes playing from the rough. A little bit. Yep. 2903. Every time I hear 20, look at Crowley. Crowley gives me a ton of shit. He's here every day. Marcus, I found out about algorithm. Hey, by the way, some of you guys with that stupid thing that I have like multiple accounts or whatever. What's the thing called? Spy accounts? What like I have multiple Twitter accounts and multiple what do you say? What do they call those things? Multiple accounts. I just found out what that algorithm is. Burner accounts. There it is. Burner accounts. When somebody first said burner accounts, I'm like, are they smoking hash or weed? And the guy goes, no, dumbass. It's like things you have burner accounts. accounts with I'm like, what is that? Do you have multiple accounts? I'm like, yeah. Hey, Xander, I have multiple accounts. You know what I would be doing if I had multiple fucking accounts? I'd be logging on to some place in Kansas. Okay, let me click here. Click. Where the fuck is this? Yeah. Multiple accounts? I don't think so. You should see me get on every day with this guy, Xander. You should see me get on. I'd be like Prince from Cell Block 6. Click. I'd be like Prince for my January 6th cell block. Boom. Are you kidding me, man? Burner accounts. Yeah, that's me. Big Sil's the burner account guy. Hey, hit the like button. Wait a minute. Yeah, Sills has multiple accounts on Tinder now. That's true. I like it how you can make yourself look thinner, too. Red Bottom Shoe, where are you? Red Bottom Sue, where are you? How you doing? All right, wait a minute here. So Dick Vermeil said that Nick Sirianni fits one of the boxes. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this because this is gonna make for a great post. Xander, we need to post that. Vermeil says that Sirianni fits in one of those categories. And then which one do you think he fits? Because I asked him, is Nick Sirianni elite? He goes, he wins. He fits in one of those boxes. Which one is that? Holy shit. Mine is they win in spite of him. Wait till I show that to Angelo. Holy shit. They win in spite of him. Man. He does like Jalen Hurts a lot, though. He does. Okay? He does like Hurts a lot. By the way, another legend from Philly, Mel Reese will join us. That'll be at 4:30. How you doing? Hey, Big Sills, do you think they're focusing on scheming for the blitzes? Sure, Spags is going to bring blitzes, man. Why not? Hurts takes sacks. Even Dick Vermeil said Jalen takes too many sacks. So, dude, he's got skill set. Nobody's denying that. But he still takes sacks. And you're going against the best coordinator in pro football. Steve Spagnuolo, X's and O's. Nick, I don't think he has a big role. He does lead the players. Nothing different than what Dan Campbell does. Dan Campbell's a former player, dog. Players believe former players. Guy like Nick, he's a librarian. He's elite. Elite. Now I got Vermeil and Michael Irvin saying that shit. By the way, just so you know, do you think I put people on my program to agree with Big Sills? That's not how I do things. That's why this show is different than any other show you have. Nobody on that radio station in Philly is going to put on people that disagree with those egomaniac hosts. I'm not saying I don't have an ego, but you know what my ego is? Views, clicks, and revenue. Nothing more. Nothing more. I don't care. Sileo wants the Eagles to lose. Why? Why? Why would I want them to? Yeah, your librarian's in a Super Bowl. Dick Vermeil won't even endorse him. Dick Vermeil won't endorse him. Okay? Right? And I'll ask you one more time this topic question. Do you believe the Eagles, okay, have enough to beat Reed, Spags, and Mahomes? Beat them by 19. These slurpers don't get division sales. I know they don't. You know why? They're so used to douchebag hosts doing the direct opposite of what I do that they don't get it. That's why some people come in here and they go, Sileo, you're wrong. Hey, I'm wrong all day, and yet you get to come in here and tell me that. You don't get to do that anywhere else. Sorry, that doesn't work like that. Why do you think they have screen callers for radio stations? Yeah, no, you can't say that bad about the Eagles. No, you can't bring that up. We'd like you to stay focused on this. That's what screen callers are told to do by the PD. You know what we do here? Go ahead. Don't be a dick. You're in. That's why people hate this show. Because you get the God forbid the technology comes where you guys get to talk and we get to pull you up and you get to talk. I'll end their stations. The only reason I haven't ended their stations or their time slot that I'm in is because you guys can't talk yet. This is like a silent movie a little bit here. The moment you can talk, they're done. They're almost done now. Why would I listen to that shit? You know, when I think Nick wins, I think they should give him a ride on the shoulders of the players. Who said that? Some guy named Joe DeSimonini or something. I don't know who the fuck he is. I've never heard of him. If I haven't heard of him, I don't know. He's a nobody. Joe DeSimonini. You know, if he wins the Super Bowl, they should put him on his shoulders and carry him off. Like he's Rudy. Oh, man. Sills, take us inside the NFL locker room. How are adjustments made at halftime? How are plans put together? What's talking about with how you do that? Dummy calls going over, situational play calls in the middle there, calls put in place without screwing up the flow of the team. T-Bone, when you go into halftime, what you have is a statistician upstairs that's with the coaching staff. And you know what they do? They'll come down with the top 10 plays percentage-wise, and they will come down. This is old school. Now they have these tablets, which you can see them on the sidelines now. But at halftime, what would happen is you would come down, you would see, and they would give you a play sheet. And you would see what they're doing on 1st and 2nd down, 2nd and 8, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, where they are on the 20, inside the red zone, plays that they have run a lot of. It gives you a sense of what they're attacking. And so what you do is you sit there as a defense and you start combating some of the things that they're doing. Hey, they're trying to get wide on us. Let's go to a wide 9. Got to keep them inside the box. We've got to make sure they don't break our edges down. Got to get internal pressure, maybe some blitzing. So you go over all of these situational things that you potentially are going to do to combat it. The guy that was best at it in-game adjustments was Belichick. Bill would go like this because Bill, for whatever reason, had a great sense of not being up in the booth but on the sidelines. And he, with the players, every time would come over. It was so important to communicate on the sidelines with his players. He didn't want to hear an assistant coach through their vision. Bill Belichick, just like Vic, he doesn't want to hear anybody in his ear. He wants to see it. So Belichick would go to Lawrence Taylor. Every single guy on the New York Giant defenses that Belichick coached knew everyone else's position. And they knew what everyone's responsibility was. So nothing on the sidelines, when you're sitting there, they're going, trying to get wide on us. Well, we got to bring down a safety, and we've got to get wider in the 9. We got to make sure we turn it back into traffic and into pursuit. It's easy to talk like that. That's the key difference, in my opinion, on what you have this year to 22. There's more communication. You know, when you got a lot of free agents on the team, you got guys that are on an island with themselves just wanting to be better. When you draft people that are in the room, they got a common bond and a common theme on trying to win together. And I think these guys want to win together. I thought that 22 team was more mercenaries. That's what I thought they were. Okay? I thought they were more mercenaries. This year, you got a bunch. Dude, look. Look at the entire front 4 and really the front 7. Sweat drafted. Carter drafted. Davis drafted. Williams drafted. Smith drafted. Let's take a look at that in 22. Okay? Hassan Reddick, free agent. Hargrave, was a free agent, right, when he came from Pittsburgh. Fletcher Cox and Graham drafted. Linebackers. Both linebackers. One was a UDFA, and the other guy was a free agent. And Kaiser White, right? Corners. Mercenaries. Bradbury. Slay. I mean, you had a lot of different guys. Now, your entire front seven. Oren Burks is a replacement because, Dean, look at what you had this year. Think about what you had in your front seven. Sweat, drafted. Right? Carter drafted. Davis drafted. Williams drafted. Smith drafted. Dean drafted. Burks, free agent. Corner, drafted. Slay, trade. Both your safeties. One of your safeties, drafted. One, free agent. Nickel, drafted. All of that is pretty theoretically homegrown. Okay, that's a homegrown defense compared to what you had in 22. Homegrown. Okay. Let Big Sills know what he's getting when you drop that link. JAKIB Media to the moon. Thank you, Bob. Bob, you're really good, man. I like you. I like you, man. Guys, hit that like button. We appreciate it. Merrill Reese will join us. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to hope to get our boy Xander. That'll be at the top of the 3 o'clock Eastern time, or excuse me, top of the 5 o'clock Eastern time. So we're going to be getting our friend Merrill Reese at 4:30 Eastern time here. Our good friends, by the way, please do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button. Give me a total on where we are with that likes right now. Guys have been fantastic. By the way, your supers have gone absolutely awesome. I can't thank you. T-Bone, tell you what, brother, you're pretty awesome, man. T-Bone throws $100 bills. This guy throws $100 bills at strip clubs. Okay? He buys the fine wine. I love it. All good. Thanks anytime, all the time. Give us insight along with all the other good stuff. Knowing what goes on behind the scenes from players like you helps us. T-Bone, I like how you do it. By the way, thank you, my boy, New Jersey Fishing Maniac. You guys are great. Hit that like button, guys. Please do me a favor, and don't forget to check out our friends at BetUS. Get yourself that opportunity, folks, during this time. You're 11 days out from Super Bowl 59 with our friends at BetUS. All you have to do is get involved with the YouTube 150. That's right. And that's a signing bonus up to $2K. Your second and third are 125%. If you're into crypto, that is 200% as well. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. Do me that favor. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And tell them Big Sil sent you.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
We noticed that there was mold creeping into our basement about a year and a half ago, and wanted to make sure that we were getting rid of the problem permanently. We actually reached out to several different contractors to get it resolved, and actually 2 of them recommended DryTech to us as a long-term solution. Other than the noise factor, we wouldn't even know that there was work being done on the basement level. It's really been a clean process for us.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Excel's National Football Show. Hit that like button, bitches. How you doing? I got to tell you, man. Here, Travis Kelce can hurt you. How many people think Travis Kelce can hurt the Eagles in the Super Bowl? How many people believe that that's somebody you're going to have to stop in the Super Bowl? Abe says I do. Okay? He's going to fumble. You mean like the last game? Okay? Who's covering him? Okay? Here's JAKIB, Bobby King. He's excellent. He's washed. Zach Ertz beat the shit out of you last week. Why wouldn't you think Travis Kelce would? He had 11 catches for 111 yards. Couldn't cover him. He can hurt you. You got Goddard. Goddard's not better than. There's 3 people that can beat you, like they did in 22. You know what that is? Chris Jones. Who's blocking Chris Jones? Becton? Okay, good luck. I want to see it. And Mahomes. Right? They can't cover AJ. They did a good enough job in 22 to beat you. Did they not? You're forgetting who won the Super Bowl. You keep forgetting who won the Super Bowl. This is different. Okay. How? Barkley. Okay. Barkley. I agree, man. I agree. Barkley is an added component that's different to that matchup this time. There's no question. Still, better coaching, better quarterback, higher impact players are where? Philly or Kansas City? Chris Jones has wrecked Super Bowls, not just games. Patrick Mahomes has won multiple Super Bowls. Multiple. 3. I'm trying to think right now. is there a quarterback in the NFL today that's got multiple wins that's active? A guy that's got active wins? See, Aaron Rodgers got one. Russell's got one. Is there anybody else in the league that's got multiple Super Bowls? Stafford's got one. So the only guy with multiple rings in Super Bowls is Mahomes, right? Okay. Again, we're having a conversation here. Hey, by the way, bottom of the hour, Merrill Reese will join us. I thought it was it. I still can't get over Dick Vermeil. Some of the decisions he makes, I don't think he's a fan of Nick. I think he likes him. But I think he's in our boat. Wait till I tell Angelo Dick Vermeil couldn't give him an endorsement. Wow! How you doing? Yeah. You think Nick Sirianni's an elite coach? Well, he fits one of those. Oh, my God. I got to go back and listen to that shit, man. He thinks he's a librarian. I know he does. How you doing, man? I don't think Dick Vermeil's a fan of Nick Sirianni. Sills, when's Angelo on next? He's on Monday. He's going to be on every Monday. And even on Super Bowl Monday, he's going to be with us. Yes, sir. It's Pacheco playing. I don't know about this, man, but I'll tell you what. I can't believe Kareem Hunt ended up with 700 rushing yards and he hadn't played in 18 months. I can't believe that. By the way, here's what I'll say to you about beating Reed, Spags, and Mahomes. You ain't done it yet. Oh, yeah, you had the consolation win last year. I forgot. They had the Super Bowl win. Is that right? All right. Right? All right. Let's see here. Do you think Nick could call plays next year? No. Maybe give Vic and Michael Clay bigger roles and go with a young OC. They tried that. If Nick says he wants to do that, would Howie say no after 2 Super Bowls? Why? He doesn't call plays this year. Why would he let Nick go back? Nick was 2-5. Remember something. Nick Sirianni as a play caller. 11-6, 2-5. He's 13-11 in the Eagles as the OC. Last year he had influence because of Brian Johnson. He's 13-11. Okay? 13-11 as a play caller. Okay? Nick better not be calling plays. Winning record. Dick Vermeil says it's in spite of the coach. That's how I took it. Woo! What a comment. All right. Are you ready for this? This is my all NFC playoffs football team. Players that made all NFC playoffs. Here we go. Let's do the defense first. Making the Big Sills NFC all-playoff team from the Philadelphia Eagles. Believe it or not, edge rusher Nolan Smith Jr. The other edge, From the Los Angeles Rams, Jared Verse. Your defensive tackles. From the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Carter. From the Los Angeles Rams, Neville Gilmore. Got the sack and safety on Hurts in the back of the end zone. Linebackers. This is a stunner. From the Philadelphia Eagles, Orenthal Burks. What? From the Washington Commanders, Bobby Wagner. This is the Big Sills All-NFC playoff team. And from the Philadelphia Eagles, Zach Ball. Your DBs. From the Philadelphia Eagles, Quinton Mitchell. And the other corner, Darius Slay. Safeties, Jeremy Chin, Washington Redskins. And Reed Blankenship. There are your players on the Big Sills All NFC playoff team. Hit the like button. By the way, Merrill Reese is going to join us in a few minutes. Offensively, at right tackle from the Eagles, Lane Johnson. At right guard from the Eagles, Micaiah Becton. At center, right now, Lions. At left guard, Landon Dickerson, Eagles. At left tackle, Jordan Mailata, Philadelphia Eagles. At wide receiver, Abba St. Brown, Lions. From the Washington Redskins, Donnie Brown. From the Washington Redskins, Terry McLaurin. At tight end, from the Washington Redskins, Zach Ertz. Running back, Saquon Barkley. And quarterback, from the Washington Redskins, Jaden Daniels. There is your offense. Big Sills, NFC All-Playoff team. Daniels at quarterback, Barkley at running back, McLaurin at receiver, Brown Washington at wide receiver, St. Brown at wide receiver, Zach Ertz at tight end, Mailata, left tackle, Dickerson, left guard, Ragnow, center, right guard, Becton, and right tackle, Lane Johnson. How you doing? That's right, man. My boy Jaden Daniels played his ass off, even in the NFC title game. Great playoff for the kid. I think he's 2-1 now. Not bad. Kid's 2-1 in his first playoff year. That's how you get it done. Way to go, kid. We'll see if he can continue that and expand that. I like it. Hit the like button. Our good friend Merrill Reese is going to join us here in a couple minutes. I don't know if he's better. I thought Zach Hurts was awesome in the playoffs. I really did. I thought he was awesome. I think Dallas Goedert's playing pretty decent, though, since he's come back off the IR. I do. I think he's played a lot better. But Zach Hurts was great in that NFC Championship game. Now, again, they had to throw the ball a ton because they were behind a lot. So you got to look at some of those numbers and go, but he's still 11 catches over a C note. And I think Dallas Goedert's been great. I think, you look at both those tight ends. Okay, I think he played well, man. I think Dallas Goedert has played well. All right. Here's something else. Eagles versus the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. All you've done all season was trash Hurts. 29-03, 18 touchdowns. Nothing left to be said. Trash. He had a trash offensive passing season. I don't know. Not much to say. I don't know what else to say. Kind of at a loss for words here. I mean, right? Over AJ. AJ had a shitty playoff, but one game. He played in 3 of them. He played one decent game. He was really good in the last game. The other guy was better. So here are the matchups. Here, Eagles offense versus the Chiefs defense. Who has the advantage in this? And before you say you do, they do have a win over you in the Super Bowl, this group. Well, some of this group. But you've added Barkley, no question. Okay, no question. Not sure what that means. Okay? Not really sure what that means. I got to tell you, we just had Dick Vermeil on, and we're supposed to get him on yesterday, actually, and Coach Vermeil's down in the Keys. And so he was down there with his lovely wife, and I'm sorry, but before I bring Merrill on, Merrill's in the green room here, and I'm going to say his wife was the personnel director, I believe, of the Philadelphia Eagles back in the day. Okay. And I think she was, because I've talked to Coach about this, and he would go home after meetings and such. And I didn't know that his wife was so instrumental in this, but she was this way when he was at UCLA. And so, I mean, I think the general manager might have been Coach Vermeil's wife during that time, because a lot of decisions, the way he just talked. And by the way, I love Coach Vermeil, man. Coach Vermeil's my wife's favorite coach, and Bobby Bowden. Just so you know, I'll tell you a secret. My coach, Jimmy Johnson, she don't really like him because she was a Landry guy. She was raised in Texas, so she don't really like Jimmy. She's more of a Bobby Bowden and a Dick Vermeil, because when I played in the World League, Dick Vermeil was broadcasting for ABC, and that's how I really got a chance to get close to him, because he would come down from the booth and we would talk because he knew my uncle. And so I became friends with him. What a small world. Merrill Reese. I told him, I said, who do you think Merrill Reese really liked covering? He goes, Buddy Ryan. I go, yeah, but you know who he really likes talking to? I think it's you. So let's bring on our dear friend. Here, excuse me, folks. Another NFC Championship game for Merrill.
Another Super Bowl.
Another Super Bowl. Come on, Merrill. It's getting old hat now for you, isn't it?
Well, there were long stretches of nothing. I can tell you that in 48 years, we had long stretches, and but lately it's been pretty darn good. This is the eighth NFC Championship game we just finished since 2000.
How about this?
Ninth, if you count Dick's in 1981.
How about this, Merrill? So I got my partner here, Xander Krause. All he knows is winning. Okay, like since 2000, all he knows, and I'm going like, you should have seen it before when Dick Vermeil showed up. It wasn't all that hot there from about 1970 to about, would you say about 77, somewhere in there when Dick started turning things around, 78, 79, something like that when he started turning it around?
He came in 76, and 77 was my first year in the booth. But we knew the minute he arrived that this was a special guy. We knew he would do it. You love Buddy. You had great conversations. We've talked about this before, but I said this to Coach Vermeil, and I'll ask you. When you look at a guy like Andy Reid, and then obviously, I'm getting ahead of the interview here a little bit, and then you look at Andy in Philadelphia, and then you look at Andy today. You look at Dick Vermeil when he was in Philly, and you look at Dick Vermeil when he was in St. Louis. Those guys went kind of through the same journeys a little bit. They didn't get the big one in Philly, but yet there was more composure. It just seems they're easier guys to get around. Do you think they have that same? Are they the same type of personalities, Dick Vermeil? No, not at all. Not at all. They're very, very different. Dick was easily the most intense coach I have ever been around, and he's my favorite. And we've been friends ever since. I talk to Dick every week, except not on the air. But Dick is a close personal friend, and I love him. I think he's the best. But he and Andy were quite different in their approaches, in their demeanor, and I think the world of Andy Reid too. I do. And there were a lot of coaches that I really, really liked personally. In fact, there were very few that I didn't like personally. And again, the only one I say that I didn't was Chip, because he wouldn't give me the time of day or even acted as if I existed. But when I talk about Ray Rhodes was a great guy. Great guy. Ray Rhodes was a great guy. Buddy, you couldn't get through to Buddy until you passed some kind of a test. And once he accepted you, oh my goodness, he told you too much. he told you stuff you shouldn't really know. But Buddy was great. Buddy was great. Doug Peterson was absolutely a wonderful, wonderful person. And I honestly believe Jacksonville made a big mistake in firing him this year. They had to change general managers, which they ultimately did. And I think they would have been fine leaving Doug in place. He needed a team. He needed much more talent to work with. But Doug's a terrific coach. It's just a shame they parted ways. But Doug's also a great guy. And Dick is a great guy. Dick is a great guy, terrific guy. But here's the big difference. Going back in history, Dick was so intense that it took so much out of him. And of course, in 1982, which was his last year, that was the year of the players' strike.
Yep.
And he almost felt betrayed when that whole thing, and it was so unpleasant. There was a real war between the owners and the coaches. And then he came back and nobody expected it. I broke the story of Dick Vermeil. And a player, I was doing the morning sports at WIP along with the games, and a player called me in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m., and said, listen, Dick is going to resign today. And I said, what? And it was the off season. Dick is going to resign today. I said, are you sure? Player that I was close to. He said, Merrill, he went over to Leonard Tosa's house tonight and got together with Leonard and Jim Murray, who was the general manager, and he's burned out. He just said he is burned out. And I came in and I broke it that next morning on WIP at 6:05, and nobody could believe it. When I came in and I told the guys in the newsroom, they said, you're the lead story. And the phones went off the hook, and the other stations were denying it, saying that it's wrong. They have, that this is, and of course it happened. And they named Marion Campbell the head coach that afternoon. But now Andy was a different story. Andy was not burned out. Dick was away for 16 years before he came back and coached in St. Louis, and then went on to Kansas City. But the thing with Andy, he was not burned out. He had been through a lot. He had won. He had some personal, well-documented troubles with his sons. And then the Eagles began to lose. And I think he was forced into making a change with Sean McDermott after Jim Johnson died. And the Eagles, and then he threw Juan Castillo in there, who was the offensive line coach's defensive coordinator. And then after that, after his 14th years, it was clear he needed a change. And the Eagles at that point had to move on. And it was the most friendly, warm parting of the ways I have ever seen. They had all the employees come into the cafeteria. And Andy said goodbye to all of them. And it wasn't like out the door, angry. And then I went up to his office and I walked in and he gave me a great big hug and told me how much he thought of me. And I'm feeling awful. He said, "Don't worry about it. I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine." But he left with everybody in the building, including Jeffrey Lurie, still loving him. It was something that he needed. He needed a fresh start. I think Andy would probably tell you that was the case. And he went right to Kansas City, and he is a Hall of Fame coach.
Absolutely. I mean,
if you look at the numbers, there's a very, very good chance that he's going to beat Shula's record.
Oh, yes.
All time.
Oh, and I think he's going to scoot past Belichick's playoff record, too. And I think there's a great shot over the next couple of years. Mahomes is only 29 years of age.
Let's just hope that one of the Super Bowls isn't this year.
Right on. Bro, you talk about breaking that story with Vermeil, and I'll tell you, and I think I've mentioned this to you a little bit. I broke the story that Vic was going to the Eagles, and I had the thing early in the morning because I was around Tom Shaw, and hopefully we can reconnect here a little bit here with Merrill. And I've told some of you guys this story before, that I'm down in Orlando. I walk into a building and Crawford Kerr's in there with me, and he's in the building with me. And Crawford Kerr goes like this to me. He owns this thing called the Wing House, and he's a former NFL guy. He played with the Dallas Cowboys. And he calls me in and he goes, "That's Tom Shaw. That's Michael Vick's personal trainer." And some of you have heard this story, and I'm sitting in there. I go, "Yeah, so?" He goes, "Do you see who the guy's in there with him?" And I look over and I go, "Yeah, it's Joe Banner." And let's bring up Merrill here because I want Merrill to hear this. So I'm sitting in the room with Tom Shaw and Andy Reid, and I believe that was Joe Banner. And I go, "So what's going on here?" And my friend Crawford Kerr, who owned the Wing House at the time, goes, "Vic just signed a contract." This was 10:30 in the morning. I go, "What? With who?" He goes, "What do you think?" I go, "The Eagles signed him?" And they go, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, no one knows." I went, so Merrill, I go back to my radio station. I'm sitting around for an hour. I'm little old Dan. I had no idea. I'm going, so I go on the air and I go, "Michael Vick has just been signed by the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's now a new member." They broke the story on ESPN that a radio host in Tampa at the time, that because I knew his personal trainer and I just happened to be in the building, but Merrill's sitting around having the Dick Vermeil and everyone going, "No, it's not true." I mean, that's kind of like you got to throw yourself out there a little bit, right?
Well, you know how I found out about it? We were doing a preseason game that night, and it was Mike Quick and me. We're doing a preseason game. And I always, during a preseason game, write topics in my notebook that we can bring up in the fourth quarter so that we can discuss something, because at that point, the guys in the fourth quarter are only known to their mothers. So I have topics in there. So around midway through the third quarter, now Mike has his cell phone out. Mike says to me, "I have some interesting news." I said, "Not now. Wait till the fourth quarter." He's a little later. I better break this. I said, fourth quarter. A little later, I said, all right, go ahead. And he tells me Michael Vick is signing with the Eagles. I almost fell off my seat because if you told me to list the teams 1 through 32 who would be adding Michael Vick, I would have given the Eagles 32.
I couldn't believe I was looking at Vick and I was looking at the Eagle team that came down to work him out because Tom Shaw worked him out in Orlando. And I'm looking at this going, the Eagles, no way. Of all the teams, my head sewn to the floor. I would have believed that more. And I went, no. For 2 hours, I sat there and I go, I got to do it. I'm the only guy that knows this. And so I went on the air and I broke the story. And then all of a sudden, it just went nuts. And all of a sudden, it started getting up to Philly. People from Philly were calling me. I'm going, yeah, man. I mean, I just happened to be there because I was picking my friend up. And he was a former Cowboy, Crawford Curry. Played with the Cowboys forever.
Crazy. Yeah, I didn't think, but it turned out that whatever preconceived notions we had, Michael Vick turned out to be one of the nicest people on the face of the earth, a great teammate, changed his life around. And there's a guy who I root for in every phase of everything he gets connected with. He's just a great guy.
I love him. I'm with you 100%. Tony Dungy was there as well. Tony Dungy vouched for him with Andy, and that's how that whole thing ended up getting done. Well, let me ask you this, though, Merrill. I've got, as I've told you before, Frank Wright and I have been friends for over 40 years. I have it on good insight that if Kellen gets that Saints job, it's Frank's job to turn down. Now, he's still being paid by David Tepper. So David Tepper is still paying him like Cliff Kingsbury's being paid by the Bidwell still to be the OC. So
I think Frank Reich would come here.
That I don't know, but Frank's been contacted by the Eagles. If you know how he likes contingency plans.
Yeah.
So the contingency plan, from what I'm understanding, having spoken with Frank, that Frank is the first guy up if that ends up happening. The relationship, obviously, with Nick. Nick was his wide receiver coach in San Diego when Mike McCoy was the head coach.
Coordinator.
That's right. And Shane was also involved in that whole dynamic. That what Jalen Hurts watches a lot of Phillip Rivers tape. So that kind of was what they want. He believes, and like he really likes watching Phillip Rivers. Rivers and him have had conversations before what kind of offense that Nick's looking to kind of have eventually down the line. So, what do you think of that?
So, Dan, you think that Frank's offensive coordinator in Indianapolis would become Frank's head coach in Philadelphia?
Well,
maybe if he wants to be back in football.
Yeah.
Listen, if that were the case, everybody would stand up and applaud because Frank Reich is one of the brightest, most talented football people in the entire world. It was just a misfortune that he had to work for the two organizations that he worked for as a head coach, because he's a great football man and could be a great head coach if he were having the support that he had. You know, you remember Billy Davis?
Yes.
Billy Davis, the son of Bill Davis. Billy Davis was the Eagles defensive coordinator under Buddy. And he stayed here. He stayed here for a little while. And then he said to me, one of the things he said to me, and Billy Davis is a great football man. Under Chip, he had the title defensive coordinator, but he really wasn't. The defensive coordinator of that team, most people believed, was Jerry Azzanaro, who just didn't want the title and didn't want to deal with the media and all that other stuff. Bill Davis did not have the last word on the defense. But he once said to me, if I ever get an opportunity to be a head coach, I would love to work for a man like Jeffrey Lurie, because all Jeffrey says is yes. Anything a head coach wants. You want this facility, you want these people, you want this equipment. Anything a head coach wants, his answer is a resounding yes. He hires the best people and lets them do their job. Believe me, when you talk about the success of this franchise, there are a lot of people involved. But I will tell you, nobody played a bigger part. It starts at the top, and Jeffrey Lurie is at the top of this organization, and he is the number one reason they are where they are today.
This is why we love talking with you so much, because Frank's been on this program, I don't know, 3 times when he was the head coach of the Colts and after that as well. And I asked him personally who contacted the Colts for Nick Sirianni and he goes, Jeffrey called me first. And then Jeffrey called Bob or Irsay. And that's how that dynamic, and inside that dynamic, that's how they ended up sending Wentz also to the Colts. And Frank was like, yes, I gave him my endorsement for him to be the head football coach and told him exactly how things work in the Philly organization. There's an analytics department, how he does this and that. He goes, and if you can manage this, you can understand this. And I think one of the reasons, you tell me, Merrill, you know the organization 10 times more than I do. To me, you finally would stop that conveyor belt of coordinators with this. I love Frank to death. I've known him 40 years, like I told you. I think you stop that conveyor belt of coordinators on the offensive side, because this will be the 5th one in 5 years for Hurts, because I don't believe anybody's going to be offering Frank a head coaching job anytime soon. And you would have that dynamic of Vic being here for the next 3 or 4 years. So you would kind of calm that down and you'd get more stability with the coordinators if you hired Frank. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. Now, do you believe, let me ask you, I thought Kellen was going to get the job in Dallas.
I did too.
But he didn't. But do you believe that Kellen will get the head job in New Orleans?
I do. And here's why. Because Mike McCarthy pulled out, and I think he was told that they've made a decision. You know, they can't make public decision until after the Super Bowl, especially if there's a coordinator that's in the game.
Right.
So I think that's one of the reasons that Mike pulled out, that and saying that 26 is going to be his opportunity to go back into the job market. Now, again, that may be true because Carroll got hired this year by the Raiders, but I think that's a telltale sign that Mike McCarthy
Doug stayed out a year before he unfortunately went to Jacksonville.
Right. I think that environment's almost the only guy that I ever remember having success small was Marone, and also, of course, Tom Coughlin had great success. But I do believe that Kellen's going to get that coaching job. Now, you tell me, Merrill, how do you think that, and how do you look at that? 5 coordinators in 5 years for Jalen Hurts. How can you have stability? I mean, Bill Walsh in Montana. Look at Andy Reid in Kansas City. Look at all the real coaches that have had the stability with their quarterback. I mean, boy, that's a lot of different guys with a lot of different opinions.
Same with college, too, going from Alabama to Oklahoma. And then, so you could add 2 more coordinators.
9 coordinators, I think, in 8 years he's had.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough, but Jalen can handle it, because what the smart coordinators do, and that includes Kellen, and that it certainly includes Frank Reich, is they put a lot on Jalen's plate and say to him, what are you comfortable doing? They don't say, here's what you're doing. Here's our offense. No, they tailor it to what Jalen's greatest skills and Jalen's greatest comfort zone is.
I asked Dick Vermeil this question, and I'm going to ask it to you. I asked Dick if you learned anything from the Super Bowl with the Eagles that you went and played the Raiders against to when you guys got in the Super Bowl and you played Tennessee and you won. What was the one thing that was different? And he said, I leaned on my coordinators more and I was patient. Can you take what 22, now you're taking on this team again, obviously different coordinators, a lot of different talent, especially on the defensive side. What will make this Super Bowl different and the outcome different, Merrill, in your opinion, than 22?
One person, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, best running back in football. That makes it different. There were 8 different starters on defense that didn't start in that Super Bowl. So I'll give you another name, Zach Bond. That's a big difference. Big difference. And then I'll add something to you. Darius Slay, who's the best corner, has had a great year, even though he's 34 years old. He comes back, and then you have the addition of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I mean, we're talking big differences there. I'm just giving you my opinion. Patrick Mahomes is a great equalizer because he's all by himself as the greatest quarterback in the game today. If not, when all is said and done, he could replace Brady as the GOAT. That's going to be tough to do, but he could. We don't know that, but that's the kind of magical talent he is. However, if you look at this roster from top to bottom, it's got more talent than Kansas City.
Oh yes, there's no getting around that. And you know, Merrill, I brought this up earlier in the program. That 22 team versus this team. Check it out. The front seven. Sweat was drafted by the Eagles. Carter's drafted by the Eagles. Davis is drafted by the Eagles. Milton Williams is drafted by the Eagles. Nakobe Dean, obviously not in there, but this year he was drafted. Oren Burks was a free agent. Got it. But the cornerback now, instead of two corners, you have one corner that was drafted in Q. You got Slay in the trade. Both safeties that you have now playing in the secondary. One guy was a free agent and one guy is a draft choice, and your nickel is a draft pick. I think you have more homegrown guys, and I think there's always a better feel about what you do things together versus hiring mercenaries.
Well, actually, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was a trade, not a draft choice, and Reed Blankenship was an undrafted free agent from Middle Tennessee State.
But you get my premise. There's more homegrown kids on the defense.
And Zach Vaughn, of course.
And there's more homegrown guys on the defensive side this time because, you know, that 22 team, you had Hargrave in the middle, both linebackers. One was a UDFA. I know TJ was found. He was a UDFA, but Kaiser White was a free agent. Both your corners were free. One was a trade in Slay. The other one, Bradbury, came from New York. So, I mean,
Bradbury had
a different feel.
Bradbury had a very good season, by the way.
He did. But Mayor, what I'm saying is I think there's more of a sense of unity and team pride when you have homegrown kids going and trying to accomplish something.
I agree. And this locker room is a great locker room. These guys really do care about each other. It's not a bunch of selfish guys. I mean, every once in a while, A.J. Brown will say something that gets attention, but he's a great guy. The writers voted, by the way, to name the top 3 people to talk to in the locker room who give them the best and treat them the best. Number 1, Jordan Mailata. Number 2, Saquon Barkley. And number 3, A.J. Brown.
I love it.
A.J. gets that reputation, but he's not the diva that people think he is.
Couple last ones here for you. Okay, Merrill, I'm going to play Angelo Cataldi, and I'm going to play Howard Eskin. By the way, Howard's going to come on in a couple days here. So is Ray Didinger, too. He's going to come on. So we're really proud that all these guys are coming on the program like yourself. And I think you had a lot to do with that because they see you on. They're now coming up. Angelo's on every Monday. So I'm going to play Howard Eskin here. Man, did you hear that comment by Jalen Hurts the other day? Jalen Hurts says that the coaches took a straitjacket off me. Finally, I was able to go out there. All right, Merrill, is he taking a shot at his coaches when he's saying that, or is he taking a shot at the media and students like me when he's doing that?
He's having some fun. He's having some fun in the moments where everybody's celebrating and enjoying it. And Nick did not take it seriously. Nick laughed and he said, that's Jalen just having a great time after the game to say he was able to go deep and open up and air out the arm a little bit. But believe me, there was no malice intended, just Jalen having a little fun. Much ado about nothing.
Okay, for you now, this never gets old. I mean, come on, man. I mean, you're calling another Super Bowl. I mean, okay, you called the one against the Raiders. You called the one in 2004. You did obviously the 17. You did 22, and here you are again. Your Super Bowl memories, just give me a few of them. Let me start with the first one. The one with the Raiders, because you guys were favored to win that game. I believe the Raiders were a wild card team rolling into that game.
Eagles had beaten them during the season.
Eagles had beaten them during the year. Give me a significant thing that always sticks out from that game.
Well, the thing that sticks out, not from the game so much, was the week that Dick kept the Eagles under wraps pretty closely. And the Raiders were out on Bourbon Street and raising Cain and just loose as geese. and they came into the game that way. And the Eagles were tight, and there were some early interceptions, and the Eagles were never really in that game. They were hit. They made some mistakes. I made a statement last week. I said the team that wins the turnovers will win the game. And, of course, that's been the case right through the playoffs. And it happened. The team that won the turnovers back then in '81 was the Eagles turned it over. 3 interceptions in that game, and that was the biggest difference.
04, what was the significant thing in that? And I believe that was a 3-point loss to the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. What was the significant thing that stuck out in that game?
Okay, a lot of people blame Donovan McNabb, and they said Donovan McNabb, they used the C word, choked, and all of that. I don't blame Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb had a great season. I felt that the biggest difference in that game was the biggest difference was the lines. I felt that the Eagles offensive line was unable to contain the Patriots defensive line.
Richard Seymour and them guys.
They had a red carpet to Donovan McNabb. And on the other hand, I thought that the Eagles offense just had trouble getting going at all. And the Patriots were Tom Brady playing at his best and doing the things he had to do, and they were just a better team.
17. In 17, in your opinion, you got Belichick and you've got Brady again. Different players, obviously, different coaches, the whole 9 yards, different roster, really, everything. What do you think was the significant thing in that Super Bowl and what delivered Philly their first Super Bowl win?
Well, the day before, I was in the lobby at the hotel in Minnesota, and somebody came up from behind me and picked me up and lifted me in the air. And I yelled, "Put me down, put me down." And I look around, and it was LeGarrette Blount. And then he looks at my hand, and he says, "What are you wearing?" And I said, "This is my NFC Championship rings from 2004. And he takes a look at it, and he says, "This is a loser's ring. We're going to get you a real ring tomorrow." And that's what he said to me. LeGarrette Blount, I loved him. He was great. But anyhow, they go into that game, and of course, the pivotal play that everyone always talks about, the Eagles have a 4th and goal at the 1 yard line with a second to go right before halftime. And I said, they've got to get the field goal. They cannot come away without points. Because I went back to the game, the playoff game against Green Bay many years ago, where the Packers were down at the 1 yard line right before half, and Mike Sherman was the coach, and he went for it, and the Eagles stacked them up, and they trotted off the field. We've got it now. And the Eagles went slinking back to the locker room. And the Packers went on to win that game. But at any rate, the Eagles went on to win that game because they had stopped the Packers. The Packers went for it at that point. 4th and 1, and the Eagles stacked them up. The Eagles went off with a lot of confidence and came back and won that game. So in this case, the Eagles had the 4th and goal from the 1. And here's another factor. They were going to be kicking off to the Patriots to begin the third quarter.
Huh.
Patriots going to have the ball again. If the Eagles are stopped right there and take a momentum hit, and the Patriots did come back and scored on their very first possession, but instead it was the whole thing with Corey Clement involved in the touchdown pass to Nick Foles, and But I said before, I would get the 3 points. So they score, and Mike Quick says on the air, that's why you're up here and down there. In the locker room after the game, I said to Doug, that's the worst call I've ever seen with the best result.
I love that.
And he laughed. And to this day, I think it was a crazy call, but it worked. And he had the feeling, and they believed in it. And Nick came to the sideline, Philly, and Doug said, go for it.
Oh, God. That gives me goosebumps, man. It's the greatest call.
That will forever be. That will forever be the moment that we remember, and it changed the game dramatically. So I'm going by just conservative. Dick Vermeil told me a long time ago, except at the end of a game when mathematics play into the clock and the scoreboard tells you the story, you cannot get inside the 20-yard line and come away without points. That was a Vermeulism. You've got to come away with points. I figure come away with 3 points. But that will forever live with me as the key to that whole game.
2 last ones here, and I got to get to the 22. Was there something that stuck out to you in that 22 game that was it? What I love this. I mean, Merrill, this is awesome. I mean, because all of these stories I've never heard when it came to those games, because those games are all significant, obviously, in pro football history. And this one here in 22, what do you think was the moment in that game that stuck out for you between Kansas City and the Eagles?
I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's a great quarterback. I believe he's a top 5 quarterback. My opinion of Jalen Hurts from the time he moved into the starting role to this very day has not ever been altered.
No, it hasn't.
I think the world of him. I think he's a great quarterback, terrific quarterback. By many people, an underrated quarterback, and they don't realize what a great arm and a great passer he is. However, early in that game, the Eagles had the lead, and Jalen Hurts just went to turn and spin, and the ball came out of his hand, and the Chiefs scored. It was a scoop and score. That was the one turnover. And what did they lose by?
3.
That was to me, that was, now they came back. They overcame it, and then came the holding penalty that everybody was upset about being called on Bradbury. But Bradbury said, I held. Bradbury held. So you could say, well, it was so minor, the officials shouldn't have called it. He held. But the biggest difference in that game was the turnover. The turnovers kill. They killed Washington. The score was the Eagles won by 32 points. Were they 32 points better? No, they were better, but not 32 points better. But if you give them 3 turnovers and don't take the ball away, you're going to lose 99 times out of 100. There was the game in Washington in Landover earlier this season when Washington gave the Eagles 5 giveaways, 5. And the Eagles lost that game. But they lost that game more because, well, they could have wrapped it up. At the end, there was a little pass from Pickett to Devontae Smith that would have sealed it. And Devontae Smith, who drops nothing, just juggled it and dropped it. That changed that game. And also you were playing for the last 3 quarters without Jalen Hurts. So that's where the turnovers could be overcome. But normally, you turn the football over, you lose the turnover battle, you're going to lose.
Finally here, I believe, Merrill, if this is off the top of my head, so correct me. I think this is your second Super Bowl at the Superdome. I think the Raider game was played in New Orleans, and now it's here in New Orleans again. Do you like broadcasting in that bowl? This is their 11th time they're hosting the Super Bowl. I know what you think of Landover, Maryland. I'm just curious what you think of this, because I've played a bowl game, the Sugar Bowl in that thing, and I've played against the Saints in that thing. Do you like broadcasting in it?
Yes and no. Yes, because in 1981, we were on the 50-yard line, and in that very middle deck, that middle
Yep.
Height-wise. We were just absolutely perfect. But like everything else, they change it and they sell those seats, and now we are practically on the roof looking at little dots. So, you know, we do it, and I did it earlier this season, and I can manage. I have no excuses, but it's a lot tougher. It's not like broadcasting at the Link or at MetLife Stadium where you just have a great view, or in Foxborough where you're in the overhang from the upper deck where you've got a great view, or even in Chicago. There are some great stadiums in which to broadcast. That is not one. If you're a TV broadcaster, they've got the great low, medium. You want to be high enough to see the plays develop. But you're asking me, do I like broadcasting in this? Well, you know what the truth is? I should answer this like this. Yes, I love broadcasting in this Sunday because I'm broadcasting a Super Bowl and the Eagles are playing and their fans are loving it. So don't worry about me. I'll manage. I'll use my X-ray vision to get close to the play, and we'll have a good broadcast and a lot of fun.
4 Super Bowls out of 59 Merrill Reese will be involved in. Great stuff, Merrill. Thank you so much. And by the way, Coach for 5 Super Bowls, excuse me, that's right. Coach Vermeil said to say hi to you, my friend.
Oh, he's the best. He's the best. You know, I did a show last night. My guest was Irving Fryer. And Irv, he's a trip to talk to. He's funny, and he said, I want to tell you something. He said, this team is going to be even better next year.
Yeah, I agree.
However, I will tell you one thing. The thing I remember most about Super Bowl 15 in New Orleans was getting on the plane the next day. And the players were not morose. They were not sad. They said, you know what? You have to be at one of these things to understand what it's all about. We know. We've got the feeling. We won't be awed by it. It won't be too big for us. We'll come back next year and we'll win the Super Bowl. Well, that next year didn't come until 20-something years later, 24 years later. That's when the next Super Bowl came. What you have to think as a player is, well, we're going to get together next year. We're going to be even better or just as good. You have to realize that this could be your number one and your only chance. You've got to grab that opportunity because you know what? This won't be the same team. For better or for worse, they won't be the same team because there will be guys who move on through free agency. There will be changes made. There will be different draft choices coming in. And we never know what the injury factor will be about a given season. Did Detroit have any idea that their indestructible great defensive lineman, Aiden Hutchinson, wouldn't be with them by the end of the season? None of us have any idea. None of us. So for the Eagles, they have got to grab this opportunity and make it happen. And one more thing. A lot of us rooted for Buffalo last week because you like to see the Bills, after all these years, have a chance. But when you really think about it, deep down, you wanted Kansas City.
You do.
Because to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And Eagles, Kansas City, retribution after what happened 2 years ago has arrived. And I think it's going to be a tremendous game, Dan.
Absolutely. You better get those air traffic controllers together again there, Merrill, because you know what we're going to have if you're flying back to Philly, man. Those air traffic controllers are going to have a championship team flying back to Philly.
Well, that's what I said on the air at the end of the broadcast on Sunday. Attention, air traffic control. This flock of Eagles is heading to New Orleans.
Absolutely. Merrill, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Dan.
You bet. Our good friend Merrill Reese. That's pretty cool stuff there, man. I so appreciate that very much. Xander should join us here. So wait a minute here. You know who the warm-up backs for Xander Krause were right now? Dick Vermeil and Merrill Reese. Holy shit. That's how big Z's getting here. This guy's on 24/7, giving out jerseys and shit, producing everything on the fly here. Absolutely great stuff. Let's get Xander up here for just a couple minutes. He's got a lot of work to do, but we cannot have him not here.
What's up, brother?
Right now. How you doing, brother? How about that, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Great interviews with Merrill and with Dick Vermeil. I thought that was pretty dope, man. I thought that was pretty dope. I got to be quick today, Sills. I got that. I got the night show coming in. So
who's coming on with Pat?
What's that?
Who's coming on with Pat?
We'll have Sal Palantonio again at the start. He will have Sean Green for your betting. He's going to do a Pat in the chat segment. All right, I gave him that idea. So make sure you guys show up for him and give him some questions and responses. And then at 7 o'clock, he has a Chiefs reporter. Let me give you the name. I have the name. I'm blanking on it right now. Jesse Newell. So he'll have the Chiefs reporter, and we'll get the update, early update on the Super Bowl, man.
Hey, so what do you make, real quick, 3 questions for you, Xander. What do you make of Kellen Moore getting the potential job there in New Orleans and becoming the new head football coach? And what I'm saying to you is that Frank Reich has been contacted by the Eagles, and potentially it's his job to turn down if he wants the job or not. Just your takeaway on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the setup isn't great, but it is what it is at this point. And you know, I will say, I know everybody does want the play calling head coach, but if you do look across the league, Sills, they're a lot more rare. You know, you need to have a really, really special guy to have success with that. In other words, if you don't have an Andy Reid level play calling head coach, I don't believe you're in 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. I truly believe that. Now, is it ideal that Kellen leaves? But can I also say one thing to everybody? All right. And this isn't my mindset, because I'm with Sileo in the sense of I want excellence. I want greatness. And even if you win the Super Bowl this year, you know what we're going to be talking about 3 weeks later? How do we get back? But can I just make a comment? If we raise a Lombardi trophy in 2 weeks, man, I don't give a fuck who's the offensive coordinator next year. All right. I don't give a shit. I get it. I get it. It's not great. You're going to have turnover. Jalen's got to learn another new offense. I understand. But if we're raising that Lombardi, man, you're not going to be bothering me about anything in the offseason when it comes to this team. So what am I supposed to do? Kellen Moore's been working his whole life to get a head coaching job. It is what it is. I'm not going to knock him for that. I don't think it's a good job. I know you said you kind of like it. I think it's going to be another Shane Steichen, where you go, and again, these are there's only 32 of them. You're making double the money. I get
you need
it.
a quarterback.
I'm not all right. I'm not knocking Kellen for going, but I will say, I don't think it's all always, you know, there's an old saying, grass isn't always greener on the other side. Now it is greener when you go from making $3 million to $8 million. All right. So that part of it's greener. And I don't think anybody cares about the results maybe when you're making that type of money. But, you know, I care about my legacy. I do. And I'm young. I care about my legacy. And I'm not an NFL coach and I'm not pretending to be one. I'd like to think if I were in that position, I would approach it kind of like Ben Johnson did. And at first I thought Ben Johnson was a little bit of an asshole. I'm like, what do you mean you want $15 million and you have never coached in the league? But look at what he did. He went back this year to Detroit after denying people last year. He had the #1 offense in the NFL. I know they had a letdown season, but the only thing that did was boosted Ben Johnson's legacy and who he is as a play caller and how coveted he would be as a head coach. If I'm Kellen Moore, I look at the Saints and I'm like, okay, I have the Saints who have nothing, are in cap hell, don't have great ownership, not bad, but not great. Mickey Loomis is okay. I mean, he's good. He's middle of the pack. Or I can stay with the Eagles for one more year. They have 2 Super Bowl runs in 3 years. They have an offense that there's not even a position on the offense I could ask to improve because every single position is dealt with. I don't know. I would prioritize at that point going back to Philly. Now, maybe that's eagle colored glasses. Maybe that's not living in the real world where Kellen's going to take the job. I get that, but I don't know. You know, sometimes I just think, like, look at Spags. You think Spags is happier with his career right now than he would be if he was making double the money but had a bunch of failures? I don't know. I get it. I get it. Believe me, nobody understands money more than me. All right. So don't sit here and tell me it's about the money. I know. Okay. I know. Believe me, I know about the money. But I don't know, man. I just think this Eagles team is so good. They're operating at such a high level. I think it's a really good job to have the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, and I would hang tight if it were me. But I get it.
All right. Finally, here. How about Dick Vermeil not endorsing Nick Sirianni, man? He goes, there's 3 coaches. And one of them, he said, was they win in spite of. That's the one, of course, I'm hanging on.
That's a realization of that.
If he was elite, he couldn't answer the question, so I'm going to
Sileo-ize it. That's a
Sileo-ize it. How you doing?
Oh, man. That's a Sileo-ized version of what Dick Vermeil said.
Yeah, I go, Dick, is Nick Sirianni an elite coach? He goes, well, he wins. I go, you're either one of the 3. He fits in one of them.
Listen, he's got a good roster. All right, he's got a good roster. I get it, but I don't think having a good roster is a shoo-in for having a successful run. Not just 1 year, 3 years.
Look at Andy in Kansas City. He don't have the best roster when he lines up.
Well, okay. You're talking about a different guy now. Now you're talking about rarefied air when it comes to coaches. I'm not saying Nick is that. I'm saying he does deserve credit though for the success they've had. I know he's got a good roster. I understand, but he also doesn't have a generational quarterback like Andy Reid does. Same thing can be said about Howie Roseman. Look at the success there. And that's not a knock on Jalen Hurts. There's 3 of those quarterbacks that exist on the planet. So it's a little bit easier. Yeah, of all time. Right. It's a little easier to have success when you have that player. That's a great equalizer. I think Nick, I've really come full circle on this. I really think he's a good coach, man. I really do. I think he has gotten to a point where he doesn't give a shit about what the outside says. He wants the guys in his locker room to believe in each other, in him, and in the process. And when I see guys go up and hug Nick and cry in his arms, and I see the way players talk about him, and I hear, some of the inside stories from the locker room about how they feel about him, I think he's done a good job at connecting with players, connecting with professional grown men who make millions of dollars. It's not so easy to do that. All right. It's really not. And when you have a locker room of 53 guys, really of more than that, of 70 or around 70 guys, it's hard to have all those guys bought in. And I really believe that's his best accolade, is having those guys bought in, because that comes from the coach. That doesn't come from Howie. That doesn't come from Jeffrey. That might not even come from Jalen Hurts. That comes from your head coach. And I think Nick's done a good job at that.
Well, I appreciate you just jumping on with us here. And how about this? They warmed up for Xander, Dick Vermeil, and Merrill Reese.
No, man, you get flexed out when you hear Dick Vermeil and Merrill Reese. You get flexed, big dog, and I'm good with that. I will never. That's what Okay, that's all right. I'm good. I love doing the segment, but you get.
You know what Xander just said? Jason Cole move his ass.
No, I didn't say I love Jason Cole. I think Jason Cole is actually one of the smarter football minds. One thing I love about your segment with Jason Cole, I always learn something about football. Yep. I've never listened to your segment with Jason Cole and didn't learn something about the game of football, whether it's history, the way the game's played, whatever it might be. So no, I don't want that. You took that was a silly lie. I don't disrespect Jason Cole. I love him, but fun show, man.
Make sure you tell Pat we're looking forward to seeing his show tonight with Sal Powell on there. A bunch of Super Bowl stuff that's following the program right after us. Please hit the like button. Big Z, thank you so much for finding time. Catch you down the road here on Birds 365 in the morning, brother, giving out that merch.
Yeah, man, a guy went and got a bunch of new jerseys today. I just want to thank everybody again. I know I do it every day, but it really means the world to me. So thank you all for all the support, man. You guys have made both Birds 365 and the National Football Show crush this season and on this Super Bowl run, and that's all because of you guys. So thank you all so much. Big Sales, great stuff, man. I'll catch you tomorrow.
You bet, Xander. Good job there as usual. Make sure you hit the like button. Our good friends, make sure during this time, you got 11 days of Super Bowl 59. Make sure you team up with our friends at BetUS. During this time, you can become partners like we are with BetUS when you guys invest with BetUS for the YouTube 150. The YouTube 150 gives you a sign-in bonus up to $2K, and then your second and third is 125%. And if you're into crypto, that's 200% up to $2K when it comes to your signing bonus. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Home of Michael Vick, the new Norfolk State head football coach. Fastest payouts in the business, 24/7. Personalized service 365 days of the year. Live wagering on every single major game. BetUS.com.pa. That's BetUS.com.pa. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sil sent you.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
We noticed that there was mold creeping into our basement about a year and a half ago, and wanted to make sure that we were getting rid of the problem permanently. We actually reached out to several different contractors to get it resolved, and actually 2 of them recommended DryTech to us as a long-term solution. Other than the noise factor, we wouldn't even know that there was work being done on the basement level. It's really been a clean process for us.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sil's National Football Show. Do me a favor, please hit the like button. Scheduled to come aboard the program over the next couple of days are going to be Ray Didinger and also Howard Eskin. So we got a bunch of people lined up, and likes are at around 317. That's awesome. Let's see if we can get to 350. That would be absolutely insane. I mean, 6-something on Monday, over 400, I think it was yesterday, over 500 yesterday. I can't remember. Here we are. You guys are just killing the program. Thank you so much. Working on those other guys. I'll give you guys a date on when those guys are going to jump aboard with us. How about this for the Super Bowl? Are you ready for this? $8 million per 30-second spot will be given to the National Football League in 11 days. Do you know how much money that is? They're going to make nearly $800 million on the Super Bowl alone. in advertising spots. What a beast. There is nothing remotely close in broadcasting like the Super Bowl in America. Now, World Cup is a different conversation, but there is nothing in America. No TV shows, no reality television shows. Nothing comes close to this. That's because of the viewers. You know, just as I told you guys in our small world, in our small sandbox, dude, the viewers, the fans of the sport, tell me this. And here, let's ask a sports question here. What makes the NFL so king in America? What do you think makes the NFL a better watch than, say, the NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, MLS, if you want to throw that in there, WNBA? What makes the NFL the king, in your opinion? The violence? Okay. Gambling. Let me tell you something here, Taylor, about your take on gambling. You want to hear something psycho? Do you know that the television audience for the Eagles and Redskins game, the NFC Championship game, did not fall off all that much in the fourth quarter when that game was completely out of reach? Why? Fantasy football, gambling. They have kept ratings where in years past, prior to gambling being involved in the NFL, if you had a 55-23 football game, people check out. Take a look at a national championship game. How many people didn't watch that thing? Now, obviously, people still gambled. They had 22 million people watch it. Here, let me give you an example. The game I played in against Penn State, we had over 75 million people watch. It was on NBC. 75 million people watched my national title game. There's been no game since that has even remotely gotten close to that. 75 million. I think there was a Rose Bowl in 80 between USC and Ohio State that had something like 65 to 70 million people too. Not even close. Again, yeah, I get it, because there wasn't streaming, there wasn't cable television. Really, at that time, wasn't prominent. You're right. It was network television. That's what you had. You had network TV. There's so many ways of getting a game today. You can cheat to get it. You can, whatever, StreamYard, crack stream, whatever it is. Yeah, so I get it. I mean, there's way more vehicles, and it's just different today. You're not going to get the rating that you had like you did back in the day. Okay, I mean, yeah, we had 75 million people watch our game. That was 38 years ago. That's right, Mad Dog. Mad D, 3 channels. Right, you had NBC, ABC, and CBS. Fox wasn't even around then, I don't believe. I think it's right. I don't even think Fox was around. Yeah, it was ABC, CBS, and NBC. That's right. 3 networks. Wow. No wonder we had so many people watch us that day. Crazy. Yeah. We had like Super Bowl numbers. No one should have to work Monday after a Super Bowl. It should be a national holiday. How about this one? I always thought the Super Bowl should be on Saturday instead of Sunday, so that you get that day on Sunday if you don't, right? Yeah, I've always thought that you should put the game on Saturday, right? The guy was like, Sills, remember the antennas that you had to do on your roof, and you had all them, you had those antennas. Everyone had antennas on the roof. Like my daughter, I'm not sure my daughter's ever seen a cell phone or a payphone. Yeah, we had all those things on the roof back in the day. I didn't realize that 3 television stations, that's why we had so many people watch our game that night. I mean, I think if I saw it right, 47 million people saw the Bills and Chiefs. And I think like 37 million saw the Commanders and the Eagles play in the NFC title game. Yeah, it was free TV, right, Keith? Different era, man. No question about it. $8 million for 30 seconds. They're going to make almost $1 billion just on the Super Bowl. What a monster. What an absolute monster. I mean, and then you figure out what they did for the season. What a gigantic money. Dude, owning one of these NFL teams is impossible. I don't know. And Josh Harris ends up owning one of the most esteemed teams, the Washington Redskins. I mean, nation's capital, the political pull that team used to have, probably get it back again. Crazy, man. Crazy stuff. Hey, by the way, couple notes here around the league. Please hit the like button. Give me a total on where we are. I'd love to see if we can get up to about 350 or maybe 400 likes would be awesome. Please hit that like button. This Liam Cohn guy, who was the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, who took the Jags job. First, I talked to Jason Light and Bruce Arians. He had assured him the night before that he wasn't taking the job. He had called Bruce personally. Look, I don't mind you taking a head coaching job. I just don't. Called him and said, then for 24 hours, they couldn't find him. He didn't answer his phone calls. Then he gets up there, and today he looked like a dick in front of the media with the Duval. The guy doesn't even know what Duval is. It's the county that the Jags are in. It's the county that, does he even know that's the old Gator Bowl? Probably not. He has no idea. He looked like Brian Kelly trying to fit into Louisiana. Duval! I mean, guy, is it that hard? They're very proud of that there. And let me get this to you, too. I'll show you this. If you put Gator tickets, Bulldog tickets, Georgia Bulldog, or Jacksonville Jaguar tickets on a table in Jacksonville, they would take Gator tickets, maybe Knoll tickets, Bulldog tickets, then Jags tickets. Jacksonville, in the city of Jacksonville, they're the third team, maybe the fourth team behind the Knolls. They don't like that team. That's Florida Gator country. The Gators own that bitch. Gator Bowl? I don't know. Florida Georgia games play there. I mean, do you get it? So this guy rolls in there pretending to be like part of, I mean, dude, they're going to look at you like people rolling in if you come in and try to bullshit people in Philly. They're not going to roll that way, man. Gator fans are like a lot like Eagle fans. That's not going to work. So this is the prime example of a bullshit artist. You know, one thing about Nick's not a bullshit artist. He's just weird. He's just quirky. He's a dork. He's like nerdy. Okay? Do I think he's genuine? I think the organization makes him not genuine. Okay? I do. I think they got a lot of guardrails on him. But that dude, Liam Cohn, going into Jacksonville, that dude's a bullshit artist. You can see it flat out. Nick's a nerd, and he's got people telling him what to say. That's how you keep that job in Philadelphia. Okay. Do I think Nick is like this guy? No. That is the ultimate bullshit artist. Dude, if you got enough balls in your back and you got enough balls in your sack, you know what you tell people? I'm fucking going to interview for the Jags job. And if you're confident in yourself, you'll know if they fire you. Well, fuck it. I'll get another job. I did a great job with Baker Mayfield this year. Look at the numbers. You have to have confidence in yourself, not angling. He's an angler. I hate people like that. Liam Cohn, I root against you. Because you know why? Players in that locker room are looking for a leader, not a bullshit artist. Dude, if you're confident in who you are, you go, your confidence is the one thing you can't put a price tag on. Or you can compromise. You can't compromise your confidence. You're either a confident guy or you're not. Dude, there's one thing to have reservation and questions. There's another thing to have conviction. Is that the guy you want around Trevor Lawrence? The guy who's not sure about himself? I just gave a guy $55 million, and now I'm bringing in a bullshit artist to coach him. Okay. Dude, I don't know. Okay? My grandpa had a rule. No bullshit artist. You're either this or see, my pop was like this. He was either this or that. My grandpa always used to say, no gray area, man. There's nothing in the middle in there. There's just no in the middle. Okay? Nothing. All right. We're going to take a look at the Chiefs versus the Eagles here in a second, but what about Dick Vermeil not endorsing Nick Sirianni as the head coach of the Eagles? Go back when Xander Krause, let me see if he's got this bitch up now. When he posts this interview, you send me on my Twitter or wherever, you send me a response and you say, Sileo, you are reading this wrong and you listen to it wrong. I'll say tomorrow here on the program, I will do this. You know, I listened to it again. Maybe you guys are right. So when Xander posts that Dick Vermeil interview and you hear me say this, do you think Nick Sirianni is an elite coach? And he goes, well, he wins a lot. He fits in one of those categories. I happen to think he fits in the category of they win in spite of him. Xander loves him now. All right. All right. Lot to love. Especially if he wins the Super Bowl. Xander could look at me and go, don't know what you're talking about, dude. 4 years in a row, playoffs, 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, right, no, right. Absolutely. What are you looking at? I'm looking at what I'm seeing in front of me here. But so am I. Like I told you, in 12 days, let's start marking this off. In 12 days, Big Sills is either going to be right or Big Sills is either going to be wrong. In 12 days, Big Sills is either going to be right or Big Sills is going to be wrong. And woo, baby. I love it. Roll the dice. Let's go. Hit the like button. Appreciate you guys. All right. Big Sills is elite. Big Sills is elite. That's for damn sure. So's my waistline. Elite. How you doing? All right. So, offense for both the Eagles and Chiefs. Who has the advantage in this game, in your opinion? Let's take a look at this. Well, the quarterbacks. It's kind of tough to talk about this because you know why? This is not a rip on anybody. Patrick Mahomes is a generational player. Nobody in the NFL is going to have the advantage in this conversation. Nobody. Okay? Get this. Patrick Mahomes could lose this Super Bowl. Again, he'd still be 3-2 in Super Bowls that he's played. He'd be 3-2. Do you know what Elway is? Elway's 2-3. Look at Brian. Brian's like, the Eagles have the advantage at quarterback over Patrick Mahomes. Keep the faith, Brian. Hey, by the way, no grease poles for you on Broad Street if they win. So I'm going Mahomes. Running back, Barkley for sure. Hollywood Brown versus AJ. Let's see what AJ's done in the playoffs so far. Let's take a look at what AJ's done in the playoffs. Let's take a look at this and see how AJ has done in the playoffs. Let's see here. All right. Here's the playoffs. A.J. Brown in 3 games has 9 catches for 20 yards, 120 yards. So he's, let's see where we're at here. Let's see here. 9 catches. You have to help Big Sills out in the math here a little bit. 120 divided by 3 comes out to 40 yards. So he's got 1 catch for 40 yards per game. In the 3 games he's played, he's averaging about 40 yards a game. Elite. 1 for 40. Let's check out Hollywood Brown. See what Hollywood Brown's got here. Let's take a look at what Mahomes has done with Hollywood Brown. Let's see Hollywood Brown's numbers. I don't know either. Let's see here. Hollywood Brown. He's got 3 catches for 35 yards. Truly, the guy with the catches is Travis Kelce. 9 catches for 136 yards. Xavier Worthy, 11 catches for 130. Then you got Juju Smith-Schuster. So you've got between your top targets, Xavier Worthy, 266 catches and 220 catches for 266 yards. So let's take a look at the tremendous passing game of the Eagles here and what the Eagles have done in the postseason in their passing game. Dallas Goedert. Wow, Dallas has had that good a playoff. Look at this. A.J. Brown's got 120. Devontae's got 121. Goddard's got 188. Now, they've played 1 less game, but I didn't realize Dallas has had that big of an impact in the playoffs. That's pretty good. Just 2 months ago saying AJ's top 3 in the league. Who said I didn't say he's my favorite receiver in the league? Who said I said that he's not? I'm talking about what he's doing. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? I'm talking about what he's done. Dude, is there a shot he could just show up like he did last week for like 96? Yes. Okay? Come on, Dan. Jump on. I'm not jumping on no bandwagon, dog. Sills likes AJ over Chase and Tyreek. I don't like him over Justin Jefferson. Here's where I would go with my receivers. If I was picking my receivers, I'd go Jefferson. AJ. I like that kid, Brian Thomas, but not him. I'd go AJ 2, Jefferson 1. Probably the kid in Detroit 3rd. Jamar Chase. Chase or the kid Brown, I would probably go with. And because Chase had a better year, he'd be my top 3. My top 3 would be Jefferson, Brown, and Chase. Be my top. Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in pro football. There's no getting around it. Okay, he's the best wideout. Dude, receivers disappear when their fucking quarterbacks disappear and take 12 sacks in a game. Okay? That'd be mine. Jefferson by far is the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's got it. He's on historic numbers. And by the way, some of the greatest wide receivers in pro football don't have rings. AJ don't have a ring. Terrell Owens don't have a ring. Randy Moss doesn't have a ring. No CD. Not my top 3. He's a good player, but he's not my top 3. Okay? I mean, Tyreek Hill, Taylor, he got his ring. Get this about what Taylor just said. Tyreek Hill got his ring. Players voted him the best player in the NFL. Chiefs traded him. Taylor, explain this one to me. If he's the best player in the league and the best wide receiver in football, why did the Chiefs trade him? If he's that good, Taylor, why did they trade him? And they didn't need him to win Super Bowls. Oh, his contract? Couldn't have been that important. Taylor, why do you think the Chiefs trade the best player in the league if he's so good? Why? I mean, how good can you be if they move off you and you're in your prime? And now he's bitching and crying that he wants out of Miami. How good are you? Right? How good are you? Chiefs went, nah, that's all right. We're good without him. They have been. I mean, right? Locker room, probably. He wanted more money. Get this. This is what the Chiefs did. By the way, guys, please hit the like button. Think about what was the biggest thing that the Chiefs did with trading Tyreek Hill. What's the biggest thing they did by trading the best player in the game? Players voted him the best player. What did the Chiefs benefit from? There you go, Keith. Freed up cash. And what else? There you go, right there. It's a great take. Rebuilt the entire secondary. Very good. Very good. Rebuilt the entire defense with the Tyreek Hill deal. Freed up money. Gave certain guys money like Chris Jones. Drafted well. Brought in some free agents that helped out. They got better by getting rid of a guy because they used the assets that they got back in return from Miami and the freed up cap space and made their salary cap. Get this. Guys, do me a favor. Do you know how much room the Chiefs have in salary cap going into 25? I think it's $25 million. What? I think the Chiefs have 25. I might be wrong. I think the Chiefs have $25 million in cap space next year. I mean, okay. I mean, hey, I'll tell you this. Somebody says 20 million pennies in the NFL. Not in cap space, it's not. Because then get this. You can free up. Why? That's it. The Eagles have 29. They got $4 more million right now than what the Kansas City Chiefs do. It's 11. They'll free more money up restructuring Holmes' contract. Eagles have 18. Okay, the Eagles have $7 more million. And they got a ton of players to pay. Chiefs don't. All those guys are on rookie deals. You've got to either re-sign Becton. You've got to re-sign Bond. You got to figure out what to do with Isaiah Rodgers. You got to figure out what you're going to do with Slay. Right? I mean, you still got some work to do. Milton Williams is also a guy who's up. All those decisions have to be made, and you got to start moving money around. You have no money on defense right now. All your money is tied into Huff, Bradbury, Slay, and Gardner Johnson. Yeah, that's right. Josh Sweat, too. You got $17 million with all those guys up. Chiefs have none of that. Okay? I mean, that's a lot of work to do. Your roster could look completely different next year. Becton could be gone. You have to put Tyler Steen in there. Probably elevate Trevor Keegan, draft another O-lineman. Then you got to turn around. If you get rid of Sweat, you got to draft what? An edge rusher in the draft? Okay. I think they're going to go there. What are you going to do with Bond now that Dean's hurt? Dean's not going to come back to the beginning of next year probably. So you got to re-sign him. What are you going to do with Gardner Johnson? You okay with that? Or are you going to move off him and put Sidney Brown back there? Are you going to really replace Slay? That's going to be a tough cover. What you will start seeing from Patrick Mahomes is he's going to take the regular season off like Tom Brady and then kick your ass in the playoffs. Lord's grace. They lost 2 games this year. I mean, I don't know. You took the fucking year off and they lost 2 games? And really, when you look at their numbers offensively, they're not eye-opening. 13th or 14th in passing. They got kind of a suspect run game. Their O-line's good. They're good in scoring and in third down. But really, when you look at it across the board, you know what? You would look at that line. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs offense this year, here, you look at the KC offense this year, you know what you say? You go, holy cow. I mean, look at the Kansas City offense this year. And if you didn't know Patrick Mahomes was a quarterback on this team, you'd go, what? Here, total offense. Chiefs, 16th. Middle of the road. Right? They're in the middle of the pack. Passing. Well, you would think they're 1. No. The Chiefs are 14th. Okay. The Chiefs are 14th in passing. So they're 16th in total. They're 14th in passing. I can't think they got a good run game. They're 22nd in rushing. So they're 16th in passing and 22nd in rushing. All right. Scoring. They're 15th in the middle of the room. Red zone. They're 22nd. Third down, they're 2nd, which is great. I mean, those aren't, like the middle of the road offense. And get this, they're beating, like Yale said, they're beating good teams with the middle of the road offense. Dude, they're nowhere near the team they were when Mahomes went for 5,400 yards. They're nowhere near that. How are they doing it? You know why? Situational play calling, it's situational defenses, and coaching. I asked you this topic question. Okay, I asked you this. Do you have enough? Do you think Saquon Barkley is enough to beat Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, and Patrick Mahomes in 12 days or 11 days? Do you think that's enough to beat Mahomes? Okay. All right. You're saying yes. So Barkley and his performance will be the equalizer in this game. You had the better roster in 22. We've been saying this. Okay? You had the better roster. Well, if you're worried about the refs, you better have a commanding lead in the fourth quarter with a great defense. Well, your defense didn't show up in Super Bowl. Wait, you had 70 sacks, and you were number 2 in total defense in 2022. Okay? All right. Your defense didn't show up. So ECC, get a defense. It's enough if they win the turnover battle. Xander, I think I missed one here. I may have missed one of the super chats. If I did, we can post them up there. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, your defense didn't show up in the Super Bowl in 22. They didn't. They had a great year. They had multiple. They had like tremendous 70 sack season, multiple pressure when it came to volume of pressure. They just didn't show up in the Super Bowl. That was a different year with a different DC. I know, senor. And you're playing the greatest defensive coordinator outside of Belichick in the last 25 years. Okay, he's got 4 Super Bowl rings as a coordinator. Okay? The vibe might be different. I agree. Okay? Eagles beat Bill. Bill beat the Eagles too in a Super Bowl. It's going to take a full team effort. I do think there's a better vibe. I think you're going into this. I do. I think there's a better vibe on this team than the 22 team. I liked the 22 roster. I told you that was one of the best rosters I've seen going to a Super Bowl. Long time ago, Sills. I know. Not for KC, though. This is their 3rd year in a row going to the game. Experience clearly favors Kansas City. There's no debating that. And so does the coaching. By the way, what I'm telling you guys is this is historic quarterbacking and coaching you're playing against. Historic. You're not going against Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury. This is who you want in the game. I get it. That was a different year and a different DC. I got it. A graphic showing Mahomes and Hurts have damn near identical numbers over the past 3 years. Thought so. One guy's playing for his 3rd Super Bowl, and the other guy's playing for his 1st Super Bowl. That's my thoughts. You can't compare Patrick Mahomes to Jalen Hurts. Why would you do that? What's the comparison? He wins a lot of games. Mahomes wins the games. That's the reality. One guy is a silver medalist. One guy is this gold medalist. Mahomes is the gold medalist. But there's no difference. I mean, 2nd Super Bowl? This is his 5th. This is his 5th. And he's 29. He's 2 years older than Hurts. You're missing this conversation here. Okay? All right, folks. Appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for Pat. Sal Pal's going to be on the program here this week in football. We appreciate you guys so much. Do me a favor, guy. Please hit the like button. Big Z, Big Joe, we appreciate it. 2 to 6 tomorrow, and we'll see you on the flip side.